Hi, I'm Andy Shalal. I'm the owner of Busboys and Poets. We are so happy to have Rock Newman and the Rock Newman Show join our tribe here. We are a tribe. This is a place where racial and cultural connections are consciously uplifted, a place where art, culture, and politics intentionally collide. This is a space to take a deliberate pause and feed your mind, body, and soul. We believe by creating such a space, we can actually change our community, change D.C., and change the world for the better. And now, the Rock Newman Show.
Good morning. This is Saturday, July the 27th, 2013. I am Rock Newman, and today we bring you the Rock Newman Show as we do every Saturday morning from 9 to noon from the stage of the Langston Hughes Room at Busboys and Poets. I just like to say that, and I like to be on this stage in the Langston Hughes Room, who was a busboy, who was much of the inspiration for the visionary of Busboys and Poets, Andy Shalal, who you just heard. We have a really, what I feel will be an outstanding show for you today. Coming up in the first couple of segments, we have the creator. He's a comedian, and he's the creator of a show that has become a YouTube sensation, somewhat controversial, but popular nevertheless. Mike Brooks, creator and comedian, and he has two of his actresses that are performing in the Housewives of Benning Road, a specific and peculiar and particular show about a slice of life in Washington, D.C. And in the next segment, we will have Dr. Janette Hoston Harris. She is the official historian for the District of Columbia. Dr. Harris, back in 1960, when she was attending Southern University, participated in a sit-in. And she was banned. She was put out of school, and she was actually banned from Southern University and banned from attending any other schools in the state of Louisiana. And she went on to finish later. She got her master's degree and a PhD, and has been here in the District of Columbia for a long time. So if you want all things you might want to know about Washington, D.C., Dr. Harris, the official historian, will be able to share with you her knowledge. H.J. Siegel is an inventor and a patent and copyright attorney extraordinaire. He will be talking about what it takes to put together a patent and how to get a copyright. He also will be breaking down for us the challenges that the Washington football team is going to have attempting to keep its, what I've often referred to as racist and genocidal and disrespectful name, a name that came out of the genocide of Native Americans. Joining him will be Patty Tripathi. She's the founder of Tripathi Media and a former CNN news anchor. She's the first woman of Indian, true born in India descent, to be an anchor person on CNN. And wrapping up our show today will be the legend, Glenn Harris. Glenn Harris, Howard University graduate, great friend of mine, News Channel 8 sportscaster, man about town. He is now, add to those titles, author. He's author of a new book. It's called Grit Tough Playbook, Hardcore Wisdom for Young People. And with the advent of all of the news and commentary surrounding the Trayvon Martin trial and what it is to be young and black in America today, some of the challenges that are faced, Glenn really comes forth in his new book and brings some solutions. He gives some answers, some real hardcore, as it says, common sense, practical, very applicable answers. So we got a great show for you today. Without any further ado, let me welcome the creator of Housewives of Benning Road, Mike Brooks. Welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Thank you for having me, Rock.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
And your two cohorts with you today, Lucy Ray, better known on the show as Pumpkin,
Good morning. How you doing, Rock?
Welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Thank you for having me.
And we have Chantel Rollins, who plays Lil Trina.
Lil Trina.
What's up, Lil Trina?
What's up, Rock?
Mike Brooks.
What's up?
Some folks ask the question, we know you're a comedian, but have you lost your damn mind?
I probably have.
Making a show called The Housewives of Benning Road. What spurred you to do such? How did this come about?
Watching the show, Atlanta Housewives, and you know, a lot of the different reality shows, you know, they need to be poked fun at, you
Right.
know, and that's what I did. I mean, I did it without thinking. One day, I was doing sketch comedy. Like you said, I'm a comedian first, so I was doing sketch comedy before I got to the Housewives of Benning Road. I was watching Atlanta Housewives one day, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do a parody on that. I'm gonna call it the Housewives of Benning Road, and that's how it all began. I thought the title of it was funny in itself. So I did, when I first did the show, I didn't do it thinking, okay, it'll be a web series. I just did one show, and it took off.
You did one show.
Yeah, I did one show.
And sort of your intent was to make fun
Of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's what it was.
So, and well, look, let me just say to my listening audience who might not be familiar with the Housewives of Benning Road, when I say you've become a YouTube sensation, you guys have one segment where you have over 250,000 views. Did one of your segments cross the 300,000 mark?
Yeah, one is about 330,000. Something.
Right. I mean, and in your wildest imagination, you never expected that.
Never at all. I mean, when I did the first show, I thought, okay, we were just doing it for fun.
Right.
So I wasn't looking at it, okay, well, let me wake up tomorrow morning and see 100,000 views. I wasn't doing it for the views. I was just doing it because that's what I do. Sketch comedy, comedy on stage,
Can you
whatever.
describe for us when you say sketch comedy?
Okay.
I don't know what sketch comedy means. What does that mean?
Sketch comedy, more like in Living Color. I mean, you're just doing something, you're taking everyday life and exaggerating it, you know, and just making it funny. That's it.
Now, how much of Housewives of Benning Road is an exaggeration, and how much of it is real?
Oh, man. I would say all of it pretty much is exaggerated. I mean, but a lot of it is real. Most of it is real. I mean, it's just, you know, that's how a lot of, and not just Benning Road. I mean, every city you go to, pretty much, you know, you're going to have the hood in a lot of cities.
Right.
And, you know, you just point it out, and, you know, you're not making fun of the hood. You're just taking where we come from. I'm from the hood, but I'm just taking what I know and just making it funny. That's
Okay,
all.
now, you say you're not making fun of the hood.
Right.
And in promoting this particular segment today, I posted on Facebook and other places. And much of the feedback, criticism, there were some folks that said it's just flat out funny as hell.
Thank you.
Some folks said it was making fun and that the black community is not properly represented in mass media, and so therefore, you know, folks took offense to poking further fun at the black community and making fun of.
Yeah, I would say it shows for that as well. I mean, you have the Cosby Show and other shows that I like as well, you know, and people like those shows, but people also like shows like the Housewives of Benning Road. You know, you can't please everybody, and I'm doing what pleases me. I'm a comedian first, so that's what I do.
So you're a comedian first, and so what you're doing is putting forth a product that you see is entertaining, funny, and as a comedian, you stand on your comedy and let folks love it or hate it or otherwise.
That's it. That's it. And that's how I attack the stage. I mean, either, you know, I tell the truth. And, you know, a lot of it, you know, people are going to be, oh, why did he say that?
Right.
But I like to, you know, I bring humor with it. So that's what I did.
Little Trina,
Yeah.
you sitting home one day somewhere, you know, lounging by the pool or whatever you might have been doing, and you get a call from Mike Brooks that I'm getting ready to do Housewives of Benning Road. How did that come about? How did you get involved?
Well, Mike and I were Facebook friends. So he just posted one day that he was looking for some people that was interested in doing a sketch. And I'm crazy. So I was like, I want to do it. And we got together along with, you know, a lot of the initial Housewives, and we created that first sketch, and it was like grease lightning from there. It was crazy.
What has been the experience? I saw you the other morning.
Okay.
You know, what prompted me to consider doing this, and I've got to tell you, I had some hesitation. We've done some pretty, serious stuff here, and part of what we do here is find the good and celebrate it. And I had some hesitation about this, but I looked and I saw that you were on the network news.
Mm-hmm.
You were in the Washington. There was a big piece in the Washington Post.
Mm-hmm.
There was a piece in London, in the London Daily Mail. Yeah. And so I was like, well, wait a minute. This is something that, one, I want to examine. And in this examination, I want my listening audience to try to understand what were your motivations and what has happened to you that might be different from when you were just sitting there before my call and now.
Well, let me tell you, the experience has been really surreal for me. There have been multiple occasions, where I go out on the town. I may, go to my regular party spots, and, people will stop me and want to take pictures, and they just tell me how much they love the show, and they always give me their account of their favorite scene or, whoever their favorite character is. So it's making me feel pretty famous.
Looking back over the series, how many shows have there been now?
About 9 altogether.
There's been 9 shows, and you're well over 1 million views.
Well over.
Yeah. What has been your favorite segment, scene that you've participated in?
Oh, gosh. The hilarity is so nonstop. I can't even think of what to pick out. But let me see.
If you want to think about it, and I'll come back to you.
Yeah, no, I got it. Let me
Okay.
Okay, because, my part. When I was like, no, I'm kidding.
No. Go into character and give me your part.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not for kids, so it may not be for...
You might clean it up a little bit.
Okay. When I be like, girl, I'm already coming. But I don't say girl, though. You have to see it, but it's really funny.
Lucy Ray,
Yes.
you play the character of Pumpkin.
Yes.
Tell us about Pumpkin.
Pumpkin, she's a independent woman. She doesn't need a man to do anything for her.
Now, is she like independent and really don't need no man to do nothing for her?
No.
Tell me how Pumpkin might express that.
I don't want to give away too much because we're going into character, but Pumpkin she's independent. She don't need a man for anything, but she's on the outside. She's looking for funds from the government, messing with older men, and just one of them side chicks that you may see driving a car, but for real, she probably don't pay her rent, backed up on car note, those independent ones.
Uh-huh. Now, there would be a criticism, and any of you take this, and Pumpkin,
Okay.
if you want to, Mike, you want to take it. There would be the criticism that would be a very clear stereotype. And how do you respond to that?
I could respond because it's self. My character is more of myself.
Uh-huh.
So I am one of those females, one of the housewives that was born and raised in the hood, that came through trouble, that had those finance issues. So mine's not more so stereotyping myself.
Uh-huh.
It's more so bringing out myself through experience in the hood and hoping changing for the better.
Uh-huh. Okay, now, when you were first describing it as that one that said she don't need a man in her life, but she might, depend on the government for some assistance.
Yes.
She might try to deal with an older man, that sort of thing.
Yes.
So one of the things that came to mind for me there was part of a definition of that particular person might be what Jamie Foxx made a record about called a gold digger. She don't mess with no broke.
There's something out there.
But when you independent, such as Pumpkin, raised her kids by herself, she came into that lifestyle quite early. So maybe, at some point in her life, young men, she need a challenge. So she's going to go for more because she want more. I wouldn't consider her as a gold digger. I just would consider her as someone that want better things in life.
And you know something? Someone that wants better things in life, that's all of us. Mm-hmm. That truly is all of us.
Right.
Yeah. Mike, what are your plans? We've got a couple of minutes in this segment here, but I'd like to talk to you before we switch out your cast here for a new set of folks. Is to ask you what your plans are having received and having gotten the kind of response that you've gotten, when you start to get that many eyeballs to a set, to a site, to a website, whatever it might be, the thought is that starts to, at some point, translate into some dollars. What are your plans?
Dollars. I mean, my plans, I mean, I would like to get it on the network. My plans now because now, like you said, we see the views, we see that people like it. People dislike it, but that's with anything. I'm trying to get it on TV.
You know, it was interesting. One of the things many years ago when I did radio before, something I saw that Howard Stern said had a lot of wisdom in it. He said that when he went on the radio, you know, part of it was to be loved. And he would look and follow, and people that liked and loved him, they listened to him on an average of 1 hour a day.
Right.
But those that thought that he was the biggest jerk and didn't like him, they listened to him 2 hours a day. So you've got something here that, you know, again, clearly has some controversy to it. We'll deal with more of the controversy when we come back on the Rock Newman Show.
All right.
This is Leprechaun Tim Pohanka from Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai. It's hard to be down on your luck when you're Virginia's first choice for new Nissan and Hyundais, but I need to sell 60 cars this week. Right now, I'll pay you big bucks for your good luck. Bring down any good luck charm you've gotten. Based on the sale price of the car you choose, I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car this week. Today, your lucky penny is worth plenty, up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car you want. Stop moping and hoping you'll get approved. With my For the People credit approval process, the banks are looking to get lucky and lend to you, even if you've been turned down before. Bring me any good luck charm and I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car today. Hurry, once I get rid of 60 cars, the luck runs out. All offers require bank approval, so call us at 1-800-POHANKA, visit Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai on Route 1 in Fredericksburg, or better yet, log on to TimPohankaForThePeople.com. And when we make a deal, I promise it'll be your lucky day. I'm Tim Pohanka, and I'm a leprechaun for the people.
Welcome back to the Rock Newman Show. Today, Saturday, July the 27th, 2013. We are broadcasting live from the Langston Hughes Room at Busboys and Poets. And we have at the table with us Mike Brooke, comedian and creator of the Housewives of Benning Road. And we're now joined by cast characters Kat Rollins, who plays Ebony on the show. Ebony, how are you?
I'm doing well, Rock. How are you?
I am great. Thank you. Welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Thank you.
And we have Stacy Tyson. Stacy, you play Riri.
Yes, yes.
Tell us about Riri.
Wow. Riri is crazy.
How crazy is Riri?
Riri just don't care.
Out there.
She just do whatever, whatever. That's what she does.
And she does it with some real long eyelashes.
Eyelashes, baby, I should have bought them.
Can't
Damn a
see a
truck.
thing.
Damn a truck.
Now, tell me what. Tell me this. A lot of people laugh about that, about those lashes. How did the lashes come about? Because that seems to be such a significant part of what Riri is about, is those lashes. How did that come about?
Mike, well, when we were in the process of filming, and he mentioned, man, we gotta get some eyelashes, put some eyelashes. But see, we never thought about at that very minute that it will be what it was. It was just to do lashes from what I thought. And then, you know, it came up, some real long ones. So I said, well, maybe I'll go and get like 3 pair and put them all together. But then...
So put them together as in eyelash on
eyelash, yes. But then I do hair. So guess what? We're going to do it this way.
Take the bang off.
Take the bang, a weave, piece of weave. We use that.
And make some real long lashes.
Really long.
Now, let me ask you something. Has anyone in D.C., had girls in D.C. started to pick that up?
Yes.
See them on the front of their car.
D.C.
They got them on front of the lights.
Well, you know they're on the car. Yeah, correct. They're on the car. But yes, Rock, yes. It's people do actually have eyelashes, and I have been asked about the eyelashes. They want eyelashes that long.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Ebony.
Yes.
Tell me, please, what has been the biggest impact? What's the biggest difference in your life now as opposed to before the show?
Well, first of all, Rock, I've endeavored into acting. I mean, this is something that I'd done a little while back when I was younger. That's just short time ago.
Can I tell you? Can I tell you a secret that I found out recently?
What's that?
I mean, can I tell my listening audience a secret I found out recently?
Okay.
Lil Trina is your daughter.
Yes, she is.
Lil Trina, you look like you could be Lil Trina's sister.
Oh yes, thank you so
So it
much.
was a little while ago.
I appreciate that. Yes.
So now you are giving some serious consideration to doing some more serious acting?
Well, if the opportunity arises, yes. I mean, I do a variety of things. I'm a makeup artist. I'm a vocalist. So I'll add acting to the list also.
Okay, look, for anybody from Washington, D.C., they know about Benning Road.
Right.
Yes.
Has Benning Road started to change as much of the rest of the city? Is gentrification reached Benning Road yet? Have white folks started to move over there yet?
Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
have.
Matter of fact,
Yeah.
I saw a young white lady walking her poodle down Benning Road. I mean, it threw me for a loop.
That is the definition.
'Cause I don't remember that.
That's the definition of gentrification.
So
a
they
white
come
lady
up.
walking her
Yeah,
poodle.
they've come up. Yeah. they've
Now,
come up.
was she walking, comfortable walking, or was she walking scared?
Oh no, it was a fast walk, but you know.
So it ain't fully gentrified.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think she still knows Benning Road. She just grown into her own.
Now, perhaps the most famous landmark over in that area
Right.
is something called the Shrimp Boat.
Yeah, the shrimp.
Shrimp
Now,
boat,
when
right.
folks say the Shrimp Boat, they really don't understand.
They're not from there.
They're not from there.
Not really.
So how you say it?
Scrimp.
Shrimp Boat.
Yeah.
Shrimp boat.
Yeah.
Or shrimp. Or shrimp. Yeah.
And you go in there and you get a whole bunch of what?
Shrimp.
Shrimp. Yeah, you get shrimp.
Well, now you know you can get pair of jeans, shoes.
You get everything
know, they
in
selling
there.
clothes on
Like
the
an ice
side of the
cream
scrap
truck.
boat.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Right.
You can get you a
Fubu
whole
outfit.
fit.
Yeah.
You can get you a whole fit to go out or wherever you want to go. Eyelashes,
Get all that.
everything.
Now, how have you guys handle? Do you get much personal criticism? You know, folks sit back on Facebook and they I call them Facebook bullies. You
Right.
know? They real
they comfortable on
intelligent,
Facebook. Yeah.
and they and they're very confrontational, very critical. Have you had folks to come up to you and say, "You're making fun of black folks. You should be ashamed of yourself. If enough of that going on."
Well, I'd like to answer that. I've had people come to me stating that might not be the best image because I'm supposed to be a celebrity makeup artist, or I should make sure that my job doesn't find out about it because it might tarnish my image on my job, my professionalism or whatever. But I pay it no attention because for the very few people that do approach me negatively, there are 100 times that many people that approach me
And
positively.
I would like any of the three of you to jump in on this, because I don't know which one would be the best to answer. Is this here?
Cool.
Why do people like this so much?
It's fun.
Because they can relate to it. They can relate to it.
Yeah.
As much as they would try to get away from it and saying, okay, well, that's negative, y'all doing the wrong thing. And they, when they go home, after they said all that, they go home, and I bet you they watch it with the family and laugh.
It's hilarious.
Is there any kind of question within you all who make this up that let's say, for example, outside, first of all, there's some folks in the black community who register their disdain and their disgust. Is any thought at all about that white folks are looking at this and it's validating, some of the more racist views that white people might have of black people? Do you give that any consideration, or do you put on the table your art and say, judge it as you will?
I think the ones that do look at it like that, the white folks that, may look at it that way, I'll turn to Honey Boo Boo and say, hey.
If you're racist, you're racist.
Yeah,
it doesn't
change
I
it.
mean, you can't change that. It doesn't have that much of an impact on whether you're racist or not, or whether you have that view of black people or not. If that's your view, that's your view.
But that's,
I'm sorry.
That's just like in Living Color, things like that. They have the white people on there. They do some of the craziest things on there. I mean, it's no different. I mean, just because it's coming from where it's coming from doesn't make it,
Different culture.
It's just that's all it is. It's just a different culture, and it's happening. It's really real, whether they want to face it or not. We're just bringing it, making fun of the light of it because it's really happening. It's just comedy.
There's something certainly to be said for something that I think Charles Barkley said early in his career. I'm not a role model. Your mama and daddy and your school teacher and your uncle and your grandma and your grandpa, it needs to be the role model. So do you ascribe to that? Is that your feeling? Are you, and if you don't, what kind of role model do you think that the characters here are portraying, if at all, if they are at all?
I would just like to say, first of all, that everything that's done on our series is totally exaggerated. You do not actually see big people walking around with bubble wrap on them. You
I
don't.
had once, I think.
Well, yeah, a couple of times.
You see a
that
whole
was
lot of
that
stuff.
time, no, but anyway, or you don't actually see people with lashes long enough to be a bang on their head.
Right.
Everything is exaggerated. It's comedy. So, and as a role model, I would say that I portray someone who can make light of whatever situation it is and have fun with it. I mean, things are what they are.
That's right.
As in that some of those folks that are so critical maybe should lighten up a little bit and get a life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
They laugh about anything else. I mean, what's the difference in this? I mean, we get a lot. Well, I don't per se get the negativity to my face. I've heard it, but I get a lot of, I love y'all. I love it what you do. I love it. We love it. So the negativity comes in
And that's from
through
all
people
ages.
want to be in
Want to
it,
be in it.
now they want to jump on board.
We're going to take a quick break. This is going to be a quick break. Come back because we've got a couple other characters that we need to meet before you guys leave us today. Be back in just a few moments on the Rock Newman Show at Bus Boys and Poets.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rock.
Hi, folks. Welcome back. This is Rock Newman Show. Today, Saturday, July the 27th, 2013. We're broadcasting live from Bus Boys and Poets, and we have on set with us here Mike Brooks, comedian and creator of Housewives of Benning Road, and we're about to meet two more characters. Miss B. Johnson plays Keita.
Yes. Good
Hi,
morning,
Keita.
Rock. How are you?
Good morning. Good to meet you. Welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Thank you.
And we heard Darrell Brooks, who plays Mo.
How you doing?
Darrell Bradley.
Darrell Bradley,
Darrell
who
Bradley.
plays Mo.
How you doing, Rock? How you doing this morning?
I'm good. I know a little something about this Mo character.
Oh, yeah?
I could say an inside joke and say it says East Side Mo. Eastgate Mo.
Eastgate Mo.
Eastgate. Tell us about Mo.
Well, Mo is laid back, but Mo his problem is his grandmother. He has to take care of his grandmother. His grandmother's always in everything. She gambles, she steals. She's just off the hook.
House arrest.
Is her name Medea?
Nah. We just
Sound like, yeah.
Yeah, we just call her grandma.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So grandma is up into everybody's business, and the grandma done probably had a little bit of a criminal record. She got a little bit of a past.
Yeah, grandma in the halfway house now.
Really?
Yeah, she over the halfway house.
Come home, got to wear ankle bracelets.
Gotta wear ankle bracelets.
All that.
Uh-huh.
But she's a good grandma. She cooks Sunday dinner. She go to church. She just, it's in there. It's just mischief.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. We got everybody, but you got to love your grandma.
Gotta love her to
grandma.
death.
Got to love grandma.
Love her to death.
Tell us about Keita.
Keita, her character, my interpretation of her is the one who's gotten out of the hood, but is still hood.
So you can take Keita out of the hood. You can't take the hood out of Keita.
Yes.
So there's a whole lot of hood still in Keita.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
So she live up in Ward 3 or something like that now?
She have moved over to the PG County side.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. And, many, many years ago, my mother would look at somebody like that and kind of think they'd move and say she thinks she's so such a much.
Absolutely.
She thinks she's so
Absolutely.
such a much.
Yes.
How's she act?
Yeah. Keita thinks she's doing something, but,
Give us an example about how Keita behaves now.
Okay. Let's see. Well, she actually has her fiance now has just gotten out. He's done.
Just gotten out of where?
Of jail. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's done time.
He's done some time, and she's trying to get him reacclimated to the times.
Right.
And it's going to be interesting.
And probably for Keita, that must be an embarrassment because she done moved out there now.
Yeah, but it's.
But she's still
But
hood.
she's still hood, but she doesn't realize that.
She ain't gonna let him know that.
She doesn't realize that. But
She doesn't realize that she's still hood.
exactly.
And what makes her still hood?
The things she does, like for instance, I think it was episode 5, and she's at a baby shower. She's eating crabs at the baby shower, crab legs. But you know, she's claims to be the classy one. So yeah, that's
one of your acting mates said something earlier about the individual that couldn't probably pay the rent, but they were going out and they were getting their hair did.
Yeah.
And they were styling and profiling and had a nice car, but couldn't make the car payment. That's not just in the hood.
no.
That's everywhere.
No.
That doesn't happen just in the hood.
And that's the part that makes it so relatable, because it's not just in the hood. People from all over. We don't have all of those hits for nothing. People from all over that can relate to the situations.
Mo, any difference in your life from when you started until now? I mean, you've had over 1 million people to see your pretty face.
Yeah, it's 1 million people know me that didn't know me before.
And what kind of reaction do you get?
I get people. My reaction, honestly, is scary, because I say people in D.C., wherever, they don't say, well, I know you from the show. They'll look at you.
Right.
So I'm like, man, I owe this dude some money or something. Instead of saying, yeah, you from the show. I'm like, okay. So, like I said, one lady, she just kept staring at me. I'm like, why does she keep looking at me? But I keep forgetting that I'm on the show and people do recognize you.
Right.
But, I mean, all in all, it's good. Even my mother, she calls me. And she's like...
She didn't call before.
No, she didn't call before. That's how she called. She wanted to borrow some money.
Now, has it turned yet into any dollars, or are you just baking that cake?
Not yet, but hopefully when we leave here, somebody will call.
Yeah.
Somebody will call. I mean, right now we still having fun with the show,
Right.
and we're looking for sponsors or whatever the case may be. If because we'll do commercials. We're looking to do more commercials now in between the segments of the show.
Right.
So if you want to get on board, hey, contact me.
Come on, Rock.
But like I say, the overall goal is to get it on the network. That's it.
Now, have there been any discussions at all with folks from the network, from the TV, any of the networks yet?
Not yet. Not yet. But I have a feeling that it's happening soon.
Right.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Right. Where do you think is this most popular in DC? You've had over 1 million views. Do you get a calculation in terms of where you are? Is the DC residents and the DMV give you the most views? You get them everywhere?
We get them everywhere now. I mean, people contacting me from North Carolina, Atlanta, L.A., so it's in different places now.
My sister called me the other day. She said, "You got somebody called me from Florida, say they see you on TV." I'm like, "Florida." Yeah, so.
Have you, one of the things you might want to do is to think about, given the nature of this show, Steve Harvey, you guys might want to reach out to Steve Harvey. I mean, he has the Hootie Awards.
Right.
And, I don't know if he has a category, that the Housewives have been enrolled might fit in. But that just might be something you want to take a look at.
I'm going to holler at you when we leave.
Nice.
Okay. Well, this is to be continued. It's really this is an interesting. I described it as I was marketing you all being on the show today. It's one thing. It is, like it or dislike it, it's a phenomenon. It has become popular. There are many, many people that do a whole lot of things, that spend a whole lot of money in corporate America, that wish they could get 100,000 eyeballs on their site, on a weekly basis. Yeah. Good, bad, or indifferent, you get that. Thank you for joining us today at the Rock Newman Show, and we'll stay in touch and maybe have you guys back on sometime in the future.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
God bless. We'll be back shortly with Dr. Janette Harris, D.C. historian, on the Rock Newman Show.
this is Leprechaun Tim Pohanka from Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai. It's hard to be down on your luck when you're Virginia's first choice for new Nissan and Hyundais, but I need to sell 60 cars this week. Right now, I'll pay you big bucks for your good luck. Bring down any good luck charm you've got, and based on the sale price of the car you choose, I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car this week. Today, your lucky penny is worth plenty, up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car you want. Stop moping and hoping you'll get approved. With my For the People credit approval process, the banks are looking to get lucky and lend to you, even if you've been turned down before. Bring me any good luck charm and I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car today. Hurry, once I get rid of 60 cars, the luck runs out. All offers require bank approval, so call us at 1-800-POHANKA, visit Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai on Route 1 in Fredericksburg, or better yet, log on to TimPohankaForThePeople.com. And when we make a deal, I promise it'll be your lucky day. I'm Tim Pohanka, and I'm a leprechaun for the people.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rock Newman from The Rock Newman Show, and I am absolutely flattered to have as one of my fine advertisers the DMV's greatest corporate citizen. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about the Pohanka Automotive Group. If you have any automotive needs whatsoever, if you want to sell your car, buy a car, trade in your car, have your car serviced, whatever you need, see my good friends at the Pohanka Automotive Group. You will be well taken care of, I promise. I'm Rock Newman. I might be there. Come on down and see our good friends at Pohanka Automotive Group. Welcome back to the Rock Newman Show. Again, today is Saturday, July the 27th, 2013. And I want to jump right into introducing our next guest because we have a bunch to talk about. Her name is Dr. Janette Hoston Harris. She is the official historian for the District of Columbia. There are many places we can start with Dr. Harris. First, I just must go. Dr. Harris, welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
As I mentioned earlier in the program, Dr. Harris, in 1960, participated in a sit-in in Louisiana. She was attending Southern University at a turbulent time. First of all, it was a very courageous thing to do. You know, the progress that we've made today
that Barack Obama is the president of the United States, he really is standing on the shoulders of people like Dr. Hoston Harris. She was expelled from Southern University and banned by the governor from attending any other institutions in the state of Louisiana. Dr. Hoston, before we get into talking about Washington, D.C., can you walk us back down memory lane to that time where you were involved in that protest, what it felt like participating in that protest, and then how you felt about the recriminations afterwards?
Well, that's a good question. Rock, you have done your research. I'm impressed. My life as an activist began in junior high school in Monroe, Louisiana, where my daddy was active, and after the Brown versus Board of Education decision, before that, blacks could not register to vote in Louisiana. So my job was, and I'm giving you this background to understand how I became this activist.
Feel free.
My background, my responsibility was to teach blacks the preamble to the U.S. Constitution to register to vote, not vote.
Because
to register.
you had to know that.
You had to know
in
that
order
to put your name down on that list in the courthouse.
Right.
And so we would.
And because I like to do this, I like to parse out stuff. So black folks then in the late 50s. Now we're talking late 50s after Brown versus Board of Education, 1954.
Right.
You had to know the preamble in order to register to vote.
In my hometown.
In your hometown.
Right.
Now, did the white folks have to know that?
Absolutely not. And I remember taking my grandmother down. My daddy had this car that we took people to the courthouse. And it was intimidating because they were sitting in front of all these whites, and the look and the stare kind of made them feel like something was going to happen. And then they were afraid, but they had learned it.
Right.
And so my grandmother missed one word, and she had to come back the next day. They would not let her register. So that's the kind of intimidation blacks went through, and I was involved in. My daddy started the first black library in my hometown, the first black swimming pool. And so these things were evolving as I was growing. So I grew up with this in my soul, okay?
Yeah.
And so going off, there was no discussion whether I was going to college or not. That was a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
So my dad, packed us up, took us to Southern University.
Higher education was very important.
Very important. That was the only thing they knew that we had to do.
Right.
So we went to Southern. Southern was a good experience for me. Being away from home is always a good experience. When you don't have mom and daddy looking over your shoulders. But it was a good experience. And in February of 1960, when the students at North Carolina A&T sat in, those of us who were leaders at Southern University, I was over the drill team. I was president of a social sorority.
Now, the drill team associated, did they have the dancing dolls back then?
No, they didn't have the dancing dolls, but we had the first girls' drill team.
Uh-huh.
So we did the little dancing or whatever that was supposed to be, but dancing dolls came on much later.
Okay.
But anyway, we wanted to do something to support the students at North Carolina.
Right.
So we came together, 7 of us, in the law school, and we talked. I'm president of our senior class, and we talked about what we wanted to do, various things, and we decided, and I decided really, that whatever we decided to do, we laid out this whole list of things. Do it in secretive. Don't let us know it till the last minute. We'll be prepared, whatever it is.
Uh-huh.
That's how our sit-in was a surprise to everybody.
Right.
Because they came and got us at a certain time on March 28th, 1960.
Yeah.
And we all came together, got in a car, and went downtown to Baton Rouge to S.H. Crest, which is a fine and dime store.
Yes.
And we went in and we bought things.
Right.
We all purchased things.
Right.
And after we purchased things, we decided to sit at the counter and order something.
Right.
And we were told we couldn't sit there because that was a round table in the corner with a curtain that you stood back there and you ate or you drank or whatever you did.
That was the color.
That was a colorful section. So we did not do that. We sat down. And we told we could not be served, and we continued to sit.
Right.
I didn't realize I was sitting next to the manager. And I ordered tea. And the lady kept looking at me, and she kept saying, no, I'll bring it to the corner. I said, no, you bring it here.
Yeah.
So we did not move. And, of course, they called the police. Right. And the paddy wagon came, and the police and the dogs, and they threw us in the paddy wagon. And off to jail we went. We had already met with the NAACP, so we knew we had some support in the background.
Right.
And so they took us off to jail, fingerprinted us, and all of that. And they put us in the cells with real people, real criminals.
Yeah.
This was no plaything.
Yeah.
So it was very frightening for me and all the other students, because the girls were in one section, the men were in another section. And so the women in there were real criminals.
Wow.
And they made it known they
So
were
they
real
took
criminals.
you guys, college students who's sitting in, put you in with the
hard-nosed criminals.
Right.
And, you know, I learned at that point, that I would not do anything wrong, because I did not want to return to a jail cell. It was in Louisiana in March. It was like 100 degrees, hot.
Yeah.
The cots were lined with army blankets.
Yeah.
The toilet sat in the middle of the floor.
Yeah.
And the shower was in the middle of the floor.
Oh, boy.
Dirty, had never been clean, seemed like. And you had to take a shower. You had to use the toilet. And you had to eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich by 8 o'clock when lights go out.
Right.
So, you know, that just...
Not a place you wanted to be.
No, those days I was a smoker. I was smoking. It was fashionable to smoke in the 60s.
Right.
And one lady, I asked her, why was she again? And she said, well, I just shot him. Just shot him dead. I said, oh, you did?
Wow.
You know, that kind of thing,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And somebody stole something, or accused of stealing.
And so you guys sat in somewhere later. Now, was it that particular arrest that got Thurgood Marshall involved in your life in one of your cases?
Yes, it was doing that. The NAACP got Thurgood Marshall involved, Johnny Jones from attorney in Baton Rouge, involved in the case. And after we got out of jail, we went back to the campus. There was a full-scale uprising.
Right.
And my mother's friend...
What, was it a full-scale uprising
on
over
the students,
you all's arrest?
Yes, over our arrest.
Uh-huh.
And that what would the president do? I mean, what's going to happen to us then?
Right.
And so we went back to our dormitories, and my mother's friend was on the switchboard, and she called and said, I'm going to send my station wagon to pick you up because they're going to move you out of the city overnight, put you on the train. She's on the switchboard. She heard the president.
Yeah.
So she hid us out.
Heard the president of the university.
President Felton Clark said,
Right.
told his security guards, go get them, put them on the train, and send them home.
Uh-huh.
And we...
Now, was that for expulsion? That's
for the
punitive?
city.
That was punitive, or was that for protection so that you guys
No, it
would
wasn't
get home?
protection. It was punitive.
Right.
You see, the school board, the State Board of Education gave funds to the black colleges.
Yes.
So Governor O.K. Long said, unless you do this, we cut off your funding.
Right.
So he was really between a rock and a hard place. He didn't know what to do.
Right.
So after the big uprising and all that, he expelled us from school. I was a senior. We had one freshman. Everybody else was senior or law school students.
Uh-huh.
And so we stayed in Baton Rouge. She hid us out in her house.
Mm-hmm.
And other people hid us out in their basements.
Mm-hmm.
And we met with Thurgood Marshall's people.
Right.
We met with the NAACP. And they really helped secure our safety while we met and planned what to do next. Because we went to court almost every other week. We were going to Louisiana courts.
Right.
And the case in Louisiana, the first sit-in case, was named Hoston versus State of Louisiana et al. It was named for me, so my daddy was in trouble then.
Yes. I want to take a moment here because I've announced several times today that today was July the 27th, 2013. So that's where we are. We're in 2013. And oftentimes people ask the question or make the criticism, why do you keep going back and talking about past times?
Right.
And we're at a time now where the Supreme Court of the United States just gutted the teeth of the Voting Rights Act, which helps to ensure some degree of fairness in voting. And we're talking about, and we have people that are in the disadvantaged, disenfranchised communities who's still talking about my vote might not count. And Dr. Hoston Harris here is just recanting a time when, because she was at a five and dime, Crest, ultimately five and dime, had made purchases, but wouldn't be allowed the dignity to be able to sit at the counter and get a cup of tea, went to jail, got expelled from school as a senior, she and other law students paid that kind of price so that we can enjoy some of the accoutrements of the efforts that you made. And pardon me, I'll get off the soapbox, but I just want to say, we're going to take we're just going to do damage to people to say our vote don't count. Just don't say it.
Right.
So Thurgood Marshall got involved in the case.
Right.
Tell us what happened.
We went to court throughout the state, and Thurgood Marshall took the case along with Walter White from the NAACP James neighborhood, because Howard had a mock trial to see if we were going in 1961 to see if we were really going to jail or not.
Right.
And the case went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court determined that we did not breach any peace by sitting there. It was a public place.
Right.
So we really opened up the door for integration at lunch counters.
Yeah.
Because our case was the only sit-in case to go to the United States Supreme Court. The others went through state courts.
Right.
But Thurgood Marshall took our case to the Supreme Court. And much is not written about our case, because they always talk about the first case of sit-in, but they never talk about the one that really paved the way.
Yeah, that actually
to pave the way
all the way through the
all the
court.
way, right, all the way through the courts. And so once we were expelled from Southern, all of us were invited by Dr. Charles Harris Wesley to come to Central State University that he was president.
Right.
No other president invited us.
Right.
One person invited me to come to Connecticut. And my mother said, it's too many white people.
Yeah.
She won't work.
Yeah.
I don't want my child killed.
Yeah.
So I didn't do that. But
Right.
as a result of that, not only was I caught a lot of flack because I couldn't go home. People were afraid of me because they were afraid of what would happen if they were with me.
Right.
But my daddy caught a lot of flack because he was a leader.
Yeah.
And so since the case was named Hoston, they said, you're all rebelizers. And one day a telephone man came into the house to repair the phone and went up in the little loft and bugged the house. So they knew everything that we were doing, going, and saying. Because at that time, I was speaking out to get money for our legal defense. We all spoke out in our various towns.
Right.
And so it was a very trying time.
Right.
My dad went to jail on trumped-up charges. And it was a lot. They had to leave Monroe and move out.
You speak of, and it just reminds me sometimes that we just need people to have courage, like the president of Central State did, to invite you guys to come in, doing the right thing because the right thing is the right thing to do at the right time. Yeah. We'll be back in just a moment on the Rock Newman Show.
You'll find the deals inside here in the beautiful showroom of the all-new Pohanka Hyundai in Capitol Heights during their giant Markdown Madness sale.
Smart shoppers know that every new Hyundai in Pohanka comes with Hyundai Assurance and America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. But why don't you tell them about the Markdown sale, Joe?
I'll be happy to, Kim. Folks, shop around on the web and you'll see lease payments on a new 2013 Elantra GLS at $179 a month. Today at Pohanka Hyundai, $99 a month. That's right, a $99 payment on a brand new Elantra.
And $89 a month on a new 2013 Accent GLS Automatic. How do they do it, Joe?
It must be the volume, Kim. A brand new building, hundreds of new Hyundais, and Pohanka's low payment and easy credit programs are designed to get everybody driving. But you have to get here today. Rush to the giant Markdown Madness sale at exit 13 off the Capitol Beltway.
Pohanka Hyundai, king of the Beltway. All financing for a limited term on approved HMF credit.
My baby drives a Pohanka.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rock Newman from the Rock Newman Show, and I am absolutely flattered to have as one of my fine advertisers the DMV's greatest corporate citizen. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about the Pohanka Automotive Group. If you have any automotive needs whatsoever, if you want to sell your car, buy a car, trade in your car, have your car serviced, whatever you need, see my good friends at the Pohanka Automotive Group. You will be well taken care of, I promise. I'm Rock Newman. I might be there. Come on down and see our good friends at Pohanka Automotive Group.
Welcome back, folks, to the 10 o'clock hour of the Rock Newman Show. We're going to carry over Dr. Janette Hoston Harris, one of the true sheroes of the civil rights movement. What a price she had to pay. She persevered. She was expelled from all schools in Louisiana, went to Central State, went on to get her master's and then a PhD. Dr. Harris, you were saying you actually couldn't go back to Louisiana. You couldn't get a job, and you couldn't go back. You couldn't get a job because now you had a criminal record, and you couldn't go back to Louisiana at all. Why couldn't you go back to Louisiana?
Well, what happened is that while I was at Central State, the Louisiana governor sent a group of men to come to Central State to take us back for trial. And the president said, no, you have no jurisdiction. The governor said, you have no jurisdiction in Ohio. So we knew that us going back would be retaliatory.
Right.
And so we decided that it was to our best interest not to go back.
Right.
Because during that period,
right.
I came to Washington, D.C., which was the only place I had a cousin
right, okay.
living, and tried to get a government job. They had advertised these PhD, they needed BA degrees in psychology, and so I went to apply at 9 o'clock in the morning and went to the Peace Corps. And the gentleman said, the job is all taken. And I said, no, it can't be taken. He said, yes, it is. Because on that form, you have to put down whether you've been in jail or not,
right.
and why you were there.
Yeah.
So they look at that as being in jail, period.
Right. Sure.
And so I couldn't get the job, and so I got so angry. I had this big bush and dashiki, you know, I was really
all right.
into the movement.
You was Angela Davis before Angela Davis was Angela Davis.
Right. So couldn't get the job, so came to back to my cousins, and I decided to call John F. Kennedy. And my cousin said, you don't do that up here. I said, yes, you do. So I called John F. Kennedy's office, and he was out of the country. And she said, we'll get back to you. What's the problem? And I told her I couldn't get the job at the Peace Corps.
Right.
And so she got a call the next day saying, can you come see the Attorney General, Robert Kennedy? Oh, I was so shocked. I said, of course I can.
Right.
So then I go down to the Attorney General's office, and they had this huge, Rockley had the most gorgeous conference table, the biggest conference table I've seen in my life, sitting in this office, and one folder on it.
Wow.
One big fat folder.
Right.
And I kept looking at the folder and saying, that can't be me. That just can't be me.
Yeah.
And when his assistant came in, and I asked him, the first thing I asked him was, good morning, is that my folder? He said, that's all you from the day you were born.
Wow.
I said, my God. Just overnight, they had all this information.
Right.
But anyway, I talked to him, talked to the Attorney General, and they called back down to the Peace Corps. They had like 10 jobs available.
Yeah.
And they gave me the cards. They take this card and you go back.
Right.
And you tell them that if they can't give you that job, to call this number right away.
Right.
Well, that was the end of that.
Yeah.
So I stayed there at the Peace Corps staff. So that was my first experience with jobs.
Wow.
In Washington.
Yeah.
And
well, you know what? Let me say to my staff here, get to booking Dr. Harris for a future show for a long, we might do a couple of hours with her just straight. Part of what I promised my audience that I would do was deal a little bit with Washington, D.C., you as the historian. So tell us about the formation of Washington, D.C. How and why was it ever established?
Okay, and let me just make a footnote, if I may, that the city historian was established by Mayor Marion Barry. First time ever.
Right.
And I brought the idea to him, and he established the office. So I have to give him kudos for that.
Yes.
For insight.
I
for
think
vision.
that's very wise decision.
Washington, D.C. was established in 1791. And the proclamation that brought Washington, D.C., the federal city was in Philadelphia, moved to Washington, D.C. I always
When was it? 1791?
Yes, 1791.
Okay.
In fact, my daughter's birthday, July 16th.
Okay.
I always go back to 1608 when Captain John Smith came along the Potomac River and came along the Nacogdoches Indians, which were later called the Anacostines, named from Anacostia, because a lot of that history started from Anacostia, and people don't realize that. And Anacostia was a very flourishing area, trading, and that's where people began to live. The Indians died off eventually. Some moved to Roosevelt Island, and after that, the city began to change. It was 1790 that George Washington, of course, issued an act to establish the federal city here. In 1800, it became flourishing. In 1800, believe it or not, as soon as the city was established, you had blacks here.
Right.
Because you had slavery here, even before that.
And certainly part of what I wanted to ask you just about that was how much did slave labor have to do with the building of some of the monuments that are here, the Capitol, the White House, and the Lincoln Memorial, the Jefferson Memorial?
Okay, you know, the British burned the city in 1815.
Right.
And burned much of the major structure that had been established.
Right.
And the labor that was used was slave labor. A lot of some of the free blacks and slaves, most of the slaves, lived in the alley dwellings behind the master's house. So we have these huge alleys. People ask, why are some of the alleys so wide? They're so big. People living in alleys because they used to live in alleys during that period. Mm-hmm. And so slave labor supplied much of the work that went on with the construction of the later on with the streets, with the buildings. They helped rebuild the White House. They helped rebuild the Capitol. These are the public buildings. They helped rebuild. They worked on the wards over in Georgetown. They helped pave the streets. They did all of that. Not that other immigrants didn't help, but slave labor was free labor, and so they used much of that.
Would you please? This is something. There was a time when my home away from home was the Lowe's Hotel at L'Enfant Plaza. Now, there's a big area down there called what I just said, L'Enfant Plaza.
Yes.
The little small circle called Benjamin Banneker Circle.
Right.
Can you please address, if you know the circumstances, there are a lot of folks that said that Benjamin Banneker actually was the designer and the architect of a lot of what is Washington, D.C., and Pierre L'Enfant got the credit.
Well, L'Enfant got the credit, but L'Enfant was actually commissioned by the president to lay out the city.
Right.
He brought in Andrew Ellicott to help him to lay out the city. So Andrew Ellicott brought in Benjamin Banneker because they both had been from Maryland. And Benjamin Banneker was a surveyor.
Right.
So Benjamin Banneker actually put the final touches to the master plan for this new city. So he did the surveying of the city.
Okay.
L'Enfant took much of the way we look in terms of our city from France. From France. We have all the fountains and the parks and all of that.
Right.
But L'Enfant actually was able to lay it out the way he wanted it.
Right.
But they fired L'Enfant because he was so difficult. So Andrew Ellicott and Benjamin Banneker were the ones who actually ended up laying out the city as we know it today.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And so
we should have a bigger circle than that little circle down in Southwest.
I was getting ready to say, I was getting ready to say again, as we look at tributes to people that made a difference, there's a school, there's a Banneker school here and there. But again, you look at all that territory down there in Southwest Washington, D.C., that is L'Enfant Plaza. And it always sort of irritates me that you've got this one little circle that's called Benjamin, where you give Benjamin Banneker that little tiny bit of credit.
The other thing that irritates me is the fact that almost every circle you come to, there's a man on a horse.
Right.
A man on a horse that fought during some war of 1812, whatever the war was, World War I, whatever it is.
Right.
And he fought, and he's on a horse in this big park, and he's gone.
Right.
And nobody knows much about him. They don't know history about him. Somewhere in those parks around that man ought to be some local history.
Yeah.
We ought to have some local history.
Yeah. Such as?
Well, we talk about Benjamin Banneker. They are doing away with schools, changing schools. So when you change schools, you change the name of the blacks who were here early on.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So the names are lost. John F. Cook. John F. Cook was one of the ex-slave who became one of the minister and founder of the Colored Presbyterian Church, which is now 15th Street Presbyterian Church on 15th Street Northwest. We have one school on P Street named for him. Okay?
Right.
But if anything happens to that school, that's the end of the history of John F. Cook.
Right.
And you have so many people who came through here. Langston.
Right.
I mean, you talk about Carter G. Woodson. They're finally doing something with Carter G. Woodson, but they've been forever doing the house. because the federal government's not putting the money into it to make it happen.
Can we examine for a little bit here the relationship to the city? Well, Washington, D.C. now has home rule. Right. And at one point, it didn't have home rule. Right. So now Washington, D.C. residents can elect their own officials. Congress still has to approve the District of Columbia budget. Can you talk to us about, prior to home rule, what the process was for district leaders, how the city was funded and how the city was represented, and then after home, the difference that it has made after home rule?
Well, if you go back in time, we have had so many different forms of government. We had the commissioner, we had, first had 3 commissioners, and they had territorial government. All those existed, and they had a governor and a city council back in 1800, okay? And then that fell through. Then Alexander Ball Shepherd came along because the city was in bad repair. Right. And then he became the head of the Board of Public Works. And he put the city in $13 million worth of ruin. Right. And the city went bankrupt in 1873. And so, and we've had these territorial governments all along. But Washington, what happened is that when the citizen, the white citizens, began to lose the power that they had, the federal government decided to appease them by giving this federal subsidy, which is supposed to pay for half of your expenses.
Right. And this was like what period of time? What year?
You're talking about 1878.
When more and more blacks were starting to move in?
Oh, no, blacks started moving in before that.
I'm saying, but in terms of when the city started to become
a large,
more have almost an equal to or a larger than black population.
It was in 1865 when the Civil War ended. You had about 109,000 people into Washington, D.C. But in 1800, you had a large free black population. You had free blacks equal to slaves. You had,
so you had as many free blacks as there were slaves in D.C.
Yeah, in 1800 you had 3,600 free blacks. Right. And then in 30 years later you had 6,000 something. Right. You had 500 that were slaves. You had 500 free blacks that increased to 11,000. Right. So that was in 1830, 1840, during that period. So you had a large number of blacks in the city. Georgetown was a really black enclave. Because blacks worked on wharves over there. They worked along the riverfront. Right. In Georgetown, you had 1,000 families, black families, living on, on P Street between 29th and Rock Creek Park. Wow. And they were upcoming blacks. They had their own businesses, although a lot of them were domestics for people in the city. They worked as domestic busboys, gardeners.
So there was a thriving black community in Georgetown.
Yes.
Tell me this: what happened? What happened? How did it come that there was because there's still a church there?
Several churches.
Yeah, that are black churches.
Mount Zion is the oldest black church over there.
That's right. What happened? How did it happen? When did it happen that the migration started out of there? And you hardly see any blacks living in Georgetown now.
Well, several revolutions happened. In 1835, you had that snow riot. Because blacks had gained blacks had schools and businesses, free blacks. Yes. The first post office was built over there in Anacostia. The free blacks began to build their own communities. Right. Then you had the snow riot in 1835. And that's where the whites attacked free blacks, businesses, schools, churches, burned them, intimidating blacks and abolitionists. Right. And after that, you began to have blacks to move about within the city. But you also had people who began to go to Georgetown and began to purchase up some of those properties and move people out.
Wow.
And so but you still have a strong black family unit in Georgetown, but nothing like it was before.
Right. Dr. Harris, we have 2 minutes left. This has just gone by so fast. Let me ask you, talk to me about Washington, D.C. today. July the 27th, 2013, there has mass development incredible gentrification. What would you have to say today of a hopeful nature for the remaining black community and how this city can get along with itself better than it ever has before?
Well, one of the things I think we need to do is educate our people on what statehood means.
Yeah.
So that we can get full statehood.
Yes.
That's number one. And it's so many things out there. There's full voting rights. There's all these different things going on. Budget autonomy. We need statehood, which gives us all of that. That's number one. We need to galvanize our community to talk to to neighborhoods, because your neighborhoods are changing, and suburbanites are coming in and living like suburbanites in our neighborhoods, and that's not how we live. So we need to come and do that. I mean, we have dogs running everywhere, bicycles everywhere. That's okay. But within the confines of this neighborhood, there needs to be some understanding on how we live and how we live together.
Right.
And that's missing.
Right.
People just coming in without being educated on where they're going and what kind of life they're going to live in this city.
Well, please promise me you will come back.
Yes, I will.
In the not too distant future. There's so very much for us to talk about.
I'll be pleased to.
Thank you for joining us here on the Rock Newman Show. Up next, patent and copyright attorney extraordinaire, inventor H.J. Spiegel on the Rock Newman Show.
My baby drives a pro handcuff.
The weekend is here, and no matter what the weather's like outside, you'll find the deals inside here in the beautiful showroom of the all-new Pohanka Hyundai in Capitol Heights during their giant Markdown Madness sale.
Smart shoppers know that every new Hyundai in Pohanka comes with Hyundai Assurance and America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. But why don't you tell them about the markdown sale, Joe?
I'll be happy to, Kim. Folks, shop around on the web, and you'll see lease payments on a new 2013 Elantra GLS at $179 a month. Today at Pohanka Hyundai, $99 a month. That's right, a $99 payment on a brand new Elantra.
And $89 a month on a new 2013 Accent GLS Automatic. How do they do it, Joe?
It must be the volume, Kim. A brand new building, hundreds of new Hyundais, and Pohanka's low payment and easy credit programs are designed to get everybody driving. But you have to get here today. Rush to the giant Markdown Madness sale at exit 13 off the Capitol Beltway.
Pohanka Hyundai, king of the Beltway. All financing for a limited term on approved HMF credit.
My baby drives a pro handcuff.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rock Newman from the Rock Newman Show, and I am absolutely flattered to have as one of my fine advertisers the DMV's greatest corporate citizen. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about the Pohanka Automotive Group. If you have any automotive needs whatsoever, if you want to sell your car, buy a car, trade in your car, have your car serviced, whatever you need, see my good friends at the Pohanka Automotive Group. You will be well taken care of, I promise. I'm Rock Newman. I might be there. Come on down and see our good friends at Pohanka Automotive Group.
Welcome back to the Rock Newman Show. Today, Saturday, July the 27th, 2013. Man, I just love the show we've had so far, and I love the show we have coming up in this hour. Joining me at the table now is H.J. Spiegel, who is the copyright and patent attorney extraordinaire. He's an inventor, and you all have heard me say that before. Let me just hold up something. This little thing right here, every Sunday during the football season, when you see the teams line up and kick off, this here is the device that the ball sits on. My next guest is the gentleman who made this, H.J. Spiegel. Now, something that I think that I would be remiss if I didn't mention, this right here is the same thing in pink. It was used for breast awareness during Breast Awareness Month. So Jay Spiegel sits at home, watches the games, every game that the NFL has, and every time they line up to kick off, Jay Spiegel hears the cash register ring. Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Jay Spiegel, welcome to the Rock Newman Show. Thank you very much for coming here. We'll get to these inventions and your creativity in just a moment. Something that I've done at this table for quite some time is to talk about my feelings about the local professional football team, Washington's football team. I actually don't use the nickname of the Burgundy and Gold. I think that it is born out of a genocidal history. I think that it is racist and disrespectful for that name to be continued to be used. Those are my feelings. I don't so much want to get into the theory about it today, as I would like to have you, as a patent and copyright attorney, to address. Here is my understanding, is that by and large, Dr. Susan Harjo, who was the plaintiff against the NFL and against the Washington football team, brought a case forward, and that the copyright and patent offices, if I'm saying that correctly.
The Trademark Trial and Appeal Board is what it was.
Okay, Trademark Trial and Appeal Board.
Yes.
Basically, that there was merit. There was merit, and that there was a finding that the name was offensive or disparaging, disrespectful, or the rest.
That was the finding of the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board, and it was reversed by the appeals court.
Now, was that reversed by the appeals court, or did the appeals court reverse it based on a laches technicality?
It was, when we talk about legal defenses, they're truly not technicalities. They're part of the law.
Okay.
But it was based upon the laches, which is L-A-C-H-E-S, as opposed to the things that close your door.
Yes.
And it basically has to do with a party sitting on their rights and not asserting them for a lengthy period of time, and on the basis of that, sometimes losing those rights. And I gather it had something to do with the fact that that name for the Washington football team has been in existence probably at that time for 70 years, I think now 80 years. And the court ruled that the party had not asserted their rights soon enough. Now, the interesting thing about this trademark aspect, it's Section 2A of the Trademark Act, which talks about marks that are somehow scandalous or disparaging.
Right.
There are two analyses that have to go into that determination. One is to identify what party or group or entity is being referred to, and then the second thing is whether, from the perspective of that party or group, the mark is disparaging or scandalous. And the first part was very easy for the courts and for the Trademark Trial and Appeal Board to determine, because the Redskins officials themselves, from Jack Kent Cooke on forward, and perhaps even before him, had pointed out that, yes, this does refer to Native Americans.
Right.
And but their spin on it was that it was laudatory of Native Americans. And so the interesting thing about that, the irony of that, is that by admitting that the term referred to Native Americans, they were satisfying the first prong of the test, even though their attitude concerning why it was referring to Native Americans was the matter in dispute.
Right.
And then it's the second half of the controversy that is really the part that's at issue, because it's not at issue whether the name is referring to Native Americans. The question is whether, from the perspective of Native Americans, it is scandalous or disparaging.
Right. Okay. And I think it's more and more documented that Native Americans are feeling offended by that. Now, I actually think that what happened in that previous case was that part was satisfied also, but when you said that when the laches aspect came in it, that from the time that the plaintiff, Susan Harjo, turned 21 or of age, 18 or whatever it was, that she actually didn't get involved in becoming the plaintiff until, I don't know, sometime in her 30s or maybe even in her 40s. And that when she had the right to be the claimant, that she didn't do it and it took too long. And that was again, my understanding, my non-lawyer understanding was that was the technicality.
I understand that's a pretty accurate explanation of it. My understanding of the law in that area is that a person would not be able to have standing to make the argument until they achieve the age of majority.
Correct.
And so from the time that she attained the age of majority until the time she actually proceeded was a lengthy enough time that the laches defense was found to apply.
Right.
And so I think that the plaintiffs in the case as it's now pending, which is a new case, that they were more carefully chosen to make sure that they raised the objection close enough to the time at which they were legally able to do so that laches defense wouldn't apply.
Right.
So then you move to the ultimate issue, which is what proof do the proponents of the cancellation proceeding have to demonstrate sufficiently, I believe it's by a preponderance of the evidence, that in fact those marks are disparaging to Native Americans.
Right.
And I think it's also important, and that's really the issue that's being decided now. But I think it's also important to recognize, suppose the petitioners for cancellation prevail. What does that mean?
Right.
Let's suppose the mark is canceled.
Yes.
And actually, I brought with me, I downloaded and printed a couple of, I thought it'd be interesting for you to know that there are actually 6 trademarks that are at issue here.
Okay.
There's Redskinettes. And here I'm mentioning the names, but I'm calling the trademarks.
No, that's fine. Fine. Yeah.
Redskins. And then there's a Redskins design, which may very well be that helmet design with the profile of a Native American.
Right.
There's another one, Washington Redskins, and design Washington Redskins, and the Redskins in a stylized type style. So there are 5 marks at issue, and the question becomes, suppose those marks are all canceled.
Yes.
What is the ramification
So
of that?
those marks are canceled, and the organization no longer has any exclusive right to the logo, to the name, or anything else.
Or the Redskinettes.
That's right.
I guess they have the right to the Redskinettes, just not the name.
Okay.
So the thing one must understand is a trademark is a source indicator.
Yeah.
And people spend millions of dollars, and I'm sure that the Washington organization has, to try to impart into those marks the goodwill of the organization. And, of course, despite the name that a lot of people think is an inappropriate name, the team and its organization do a lot of good things in the community, and a lot of the reasons they do those things are to increase the goodwill and the value of those marks. And I'm sure you've seen that the Redskins are certainly one of the 5 most valuable franchises in all of sports. I think they're the second most valuable in football.
Yes.
But the only ones that are more valuable than them, besides perhaps the Dallas team, are a couple of soccer teams.
Correct.
And so other than that, it's a very, very valuable franchise, and a lot of that value is in those marks. But if those federal registrations were to be canceled, that would mean that the organization would not have the right to exclude others from using those to designate goods or services.
Right.
But what does that mean? If you think about all of the things that the team sells.
Yes.
A lot of people maybe in this room buy jerseys with
Sure.
Robert Griffin's name on them and
Sure.
those sorts of things.
Sure.
There's so many aspects of intellectual property protection on all the merchandising that I'm not sure that it would have a great impact on that. So, for example, I could sell a T-shirt that says Redskins on it.
Sure.
But I couldn't sell a jersey that has all of the little trade dress aspects, copyrighted aspects, and as well as the names of players, which I believe are protected by some sort of a combination agreement that the National Football League controls in terms of the merchandising of individual player names.
Right.
So while it would certainly stop the exclusivity of that name, I think that in some ways it's more of a matter of principle than something that would grossly impact the organization financially.
I want to say two things. One, I have repeatedly said that I am of the belief that the name is going to change a lot quicker than folks think, because people look at it being the fifth most valuable franchise in all of sports and think billions of dollars. You know, that team is worth billions of dollars. Dan Snyder is a billionaire, and so therefore he's going to fight this thing, and he said the name is never going to change. However, just with your explanation there, and again, my understanding that on the merits, the case really has been not adjudicated but judged as having merit. And that now the slow wheels of justice grind, and that the new plaintiffs have filed in a timely fashion, which the previous case got thrown out because of the latches, and not the thing you close your door with, but the other latches. And this one here, though, was filed in a timely manner. I think that the organization is looking down the barrel of a very big legal gun, that if it has already been found that there is merit for changing the name, that it is disparaging, that in this legal case now that they don't have the latches defense anymore, that they're on some shaky ground. That's one thing. The other thing is that there is a growing outcry and sensitivity on folks who are becoming more enlightened about where the name came from and why it is offensive and why people feel that it is racist. One position. The other position being, I don't understand from a commercial point of view why Dan Snyder is so terribly reluctant from a commercial point of view. Because if he changes the name, if he were to announce now that for the 2014 season he's going to change the name, what happens? Every piece of paraphernalia, socks, T-shirts, stickers, bumper stickers, pencil pens, whatever it is going to be gobbled up by those who love this team and love that name. One. Yeah. Two, you have some kind of contest, whatever, you give a new name, and people want that. So from a commercial view, I really don't see why this brilliant businessman is not more willing to take a position of social leadership that will give him a legacy that nothing on the field could ever do.
Well, you know, as a lawyer who counsels clients in the intellectual property field, including you.
Mm-hmm, yes, including me.
Including you.
I claim that.
Yeah.
He represented me extraordinarily well.
And I appreciate your saying that.
Thank you.
On the live on the air.
Yes. You're going to hold me to it now.
I will now hold you to it. I'll add that endorsement to my website. The situation with this is that if I were being asked to counsel a client, I think that I would recommend getting ahead of the issue rather than being behind the issue.
And tell me what you mean by that.
What I mean by that is it might be better from a goodwill standpoint to make a change now if that's what's going to happen, rather than being seen to be reacting to circumstances.
Yeah.
Because I think whatever the decision is made by the organization, what is going to happen is if no decision is made to make any change now, there's going to be an analysis of what the financial consequences are over time by not having those registrations if they are canceled. So, for example, are people in the general public who are fans of the team and others who collect memorabilia and other items going to be reluctant to collect items that have those logos and those names on them? That's one thing. The other thing is, are third parties going to be manufacturing all sorts of T-shirts and pants and mugs and everything else that just say the name in block letters without any of the other intellectual property law protections of the team, and be siphoning off the profits. And if one is waiting to see what the bottom line is over a period of several years, then you're doing something to, in some fashion, erode the goodwill. And so, I'm sure you very well recall when Abe Poland decided that the name Bullets was not an appropriate name for a basketball team in our nation's capital, and got ahead of the situation. That wasn't a disparagement issue. It was certainly an issue where we had a lot of murders occurring in the District of Columbia. And so changing the name to the Wizards was something that he thought was a good idea, and I thought it was the right thing to do.
Let me say to our brother Dan Snyder, you just heard it from the best in the world. Heed that advice, do the right thing, because the right thing is the right thing to do. The right thing to do would be to hold on. We're going to come back in just a moment. We're going to keep H.J. Spiegel, and he'll be joined by Patty Tripathi, who is the founder of the Tripathi Media and a former CNN anchor. All happening when we come back on The Rock Newman Show.
My baby drives a bull handcuff.
The weekend is here, and no matter what the weather's like outside, you'll find the deals inside here in the beautiful showroom of the all-new Pohanka Hyundai in Capitol Heights during their giant Markdown Madness sale.
Smart shoppers know that every new Hyundai in Pohanka comes with Hyundai Assurance and America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. But why don't you tell them about the markdown sale, Joe?
I'll be happy to, Kim. Folks, shop around on the web, and you'll see lease payments on a new 2013 Elantra GLS at $179 a month. Today at Pohanka Hyundai, $99 a month. That's right, a $99 payment on a brand new Elantra.
And $89 a month on a new 2013 Accent GLS Automatic. How do they do it, Joe?
It must be the volume, Kim. A brand new building, hundreds of new Hyundais, and Pohanka's low payment and easy credit programs are designed to get everybody driving. But you have to get here today. Rush to the giant Markdown Madness sale at exit 13 off the Capitol Beltway.
Pohanka Hyundai, king of the Beltway. All financing for a limited term on approved HMF credit.
My baby drives a bull handcuff. This is Leprechaun Tim Pohanka from Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai. It's hard to be down on your luck when you're Virginia's first choice for new Nissan and Hyundais, but I need to sell 60 cars this week. Right now, I'll pay you big bucks for your good luck. Bring down any good luck charm you've got, and based on the sale price of the car you choose, I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car this week.
Today, your lucky penny is worth plenty, up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car you want. Stop moping and hoping you'll get approved. With my For the People credit approval process, the banks are looking to get lucky and lend to you, even if you've been turned down before. Bring me any good luck charm and I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car today. Hurry, once I get rid of 60 cars, the luck runs out. All offers require bank approval, so call us at 1-800-POHANKA, visit Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai on Route 1 in Fredericksburg, or better yet, log on to timpohankaforthepeople.com. And when we make a deal, I promise it'll be your lucky day. I'm Tim Pohanka, and I'm a leprechaun for the people.
Welcome back to the Rock Newman Show. I am Rock Newman, and today is Saturday, July the 27th, and sitting at the table with me here is H.J. Spiegel. You just heard his legal analysis of the case that is pending before the, say it again, Jay, how do you say it?
Trademark Trial and Appeal Board.
Trademark Trial and Appeal Board involving the Washington football team. And I want to say that in addition to that, it's, in my very strong opinion, the right thing to do to change the name because it is offensive to many, and it's offensive mostly the fact that so many within the Native American population now have come forth and explained and expressed why it is offensive, that's the most important reason to do it. Then for commercial reasons that Jay really laid out, I just thought your analysis was just absolutely spot on, and I hope that Dan Snyder might take heed. We are joined in this segment by Patty Tripathi. Patty is the first person of Indian heritage, am I saying that right, that was an anchor on CNN.
Headline News.
CNN Headline News. And I remember from some time ago seeing your absolutely gorgeous face. Now, you know, when President Obama said that a lady, the Attorney General
Kamala Harris.
What's her name?
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris, who is a Howard University graduate, was gorgeous. Some people kind of skewered him for being politically incorrect. How do you feel about that? I mean, I just said it, so either, you know, it's appropriate or inappropriate or somewhere in between. How do you, as an anchor person, news person, feel about a male describing a cohort in flattering physical terms?
I don't know what to say about that. You guys are all men. You have eyes.
And we're just men, right?
Well, no, it's television business. It's a lot of it is about appearance.
Yes.
But you know, I couldn't speak English when I was 12, and when my parents emigrated here, and I had to change my name from Prativa to Patty, and try to look non-Indian at that time. Now everybody wants to hire an Indian American woman. You've got Sanjay Gupta. You've got people on national news. I thought you were talking about something else. The Attorney General of California, who's half Indian and half black. Kamala Harris.
No, I was talking about her, and President Obama referenced her and said something about her good looks, that she's the best-looking Attorney General in the country.
Oh, she's
and she's a gorgeous woman.
She's striking.
But he got skewered for making that reference.
Oh, you know, my business is Tripath Media, but I do some social justice stuff. And I did one for Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi event with Kelly Wright and Sarasota. And my next project is called Saris to Suits. It's about South Asian American women who are not only beautiful on the outside, but they are Harvard grads and doing volunteer work in Nepal. Right. And so the women that we're selecting are incredibly intelligent and pretty. Mm-hmm. So, and she's quite accomplished.
Yes.
and
Yeah.
beautiful on top of that.
And so do you feel as if that criticism of Obama when he did that, or
No.
of some other guy, is justified?
No.
As in, like, get a life, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
an observation. Now, what Michelle might have said,
That's right.
That's another
That's
story.
all that
But I
matters.
mean, who are we? Now, the point is, to rebut my own,
Yeah.
liberalism, is that it is objectifying women.
It's just ridiculous, really.
Okay,
Yeah.
I agree. Okay, tell us what it was like when you had to come through the ranks. Were you welcomed in open arms? Did you feel pressured? Did you feel discrimination? What did you feel? Because that's a big step.
I did do local news in Phoenix, Indiana, and Raleigh-Durham. In Raleigh-Durham especially, they just would call in and say, "What is she?" And by the time I got to CNN...
What is she?
Yeah. So by the time I got to CNN, I actually felt... even at Notre Dame, I went to a Catholic school, and I stood out. And it was always a good thing.
Hindu at a Catholic school, you stood out? Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I grew up, was born in a town near Buddha died, in a Hindu family, gone to Catholic schools, and my attorney is Jewish. So I've got all the bases covered.
There's some serious diversity going on up in
right.
here.
And when Notre Dame would score a touchdown, she would always yell, "Touchdown Buddha," as opposed to "Touchdown Jesus."
Jay is going to keep his day job.
That's right. Now, I want to know, I can understand why you have Dalai Lama as waiting, and I know it's not your place, but why do you have Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi as watching? And I can understand dreaming, and you judge people, by their content of character, not the color of skin.
Right.
And that was his dream. And my friend I was mentioning, Kelly Wright, has an award-winning Emmy series on Fox called Beyond the Dream, and he came to Sarasota, and we co-hosted an event together. Now, why watching?
Why watching?
Mm-hmm.
That would be a question that I will pose to the visionary of this place,
Okay.
Andy Shalal. And I will pose it to him very shortly after we get off the air.
Okay.
That's a good question. I never really thought about it. Man, my best guess would be that he watched, but man, he was very active also. Very, very active also. But I can't answer that question.
Right.
The answer to that question is I can't answer it.
Yeah.
I'll have to ask Andy.
Well, it's very clever.
Why he
Now, I can
put that
see
there.
why he went, he's got the government in exile in Dharamsala in India.
Mhm.
Dreaming, I can understand. But it's just...
That's a great likeness, too.
Curious.
Yes, it is. Well, Andy Shalal, first and foremost, self-proclaimed, not just what I'm saying, is an artist.
Okay.
And
this is a lovely place.
It's an artist and a visionary, and he was the founder of this place.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives me an opportunity to say that he refers to this as a tribe, as a place where people can come.
Yeah.
And ultimately, what he's trying to do is to create an environment where people can come and commune and help change the place, one person and one conversation at a time.
Yeah, I was actually texting Kelly, who was about to go on the air in New York, and telling him about it. And he says, I have to interview the owner and do a story for his Beyond the Dream series.
Yeah, I really think I think that would be an outstanding idea. I was doing this show actually in a radio studio over in Southeast Washington, D.C., and when the opportunity presented itself to come here, because part of our mission here is to use this microphone, to use this table and the discussion that goes on here to do just that. I mean, I have an agenda,
And what is your agenda?
My agenda is very closely aligned with what Andy Shalal's was, is to use this table and to use my voice, help make this place a better place in which to inhabit. Just kind of, big but real simple.
Okay.
Kind of
Now,
one conversation at a time.
Just curious.
As a media consultant.
That's right, Tripath Media. But
Yes.
Saris to Suit, actually, I'm looking for sponsors, so you can go to saristosuits.com. And my project is to empower women. I was supposed to go on a speaking trip to India, and I'm supposed to in September. My family got very worried because of the series of gang rapes there and traveling alone.
Right.
And seeing the immigrant population, South Asian American women who are downtrodden, and their issues are not brought to light because of stigma or whatever reason. And so that Stars to Suits, a calendar of 12 beautiful Bangladeshi, Nepali, Pakistani, Indian American women who are very well educated and accomplished.
You said Indian American women.
Indo-American.
Indo-American.
Like Indian American
right,
versus American Indian, what you were talking about.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm looking for sponsors, and all the proceeds go to two battered women's shelters, one in Atlanta called Raksha, which means protection, and they cater to South Asian American community. And the other one is in Sarasota, where I live now. I used to live in D.C. and Atlanta. And that is for battered women as well.
Right.
So if you go on that site, look some sponsors.
How is that going? I mean, are you getting a good reaction?
Yeah, there are people calling, wanting to be on the calendar, and I don't want it to be, it's going to be a very dignified, refined calendar. So I'm looking at their education, their social service, and outer beauty as well.
My wife spent a month in India.
Where?
She was in Mumbai, and then she went to the south of India, and I can't think of it.
Kerala?
Might have been Kerala. Might have been, and she's watching right now, and she's probably screaming, it's like, you never pay attention, you know. But she went there on a yoga retreat.
Okay.
And
she went to Pondicherry.
Pondicherry?
That's where a lot of people go. Or she might have gone to an ashram. Did she go to Sai Baba ashram?
I don't know.
I was only 10 years old when I left India. I moved to the UK and then to the US.
You know, one day, so she loved the experience, and one day she and Dick Gregory got together. Greg, I've spent a lot of time in India, and it was amazing me hearing their discussion, where they both expressed in their own way through their experiences about India having been the most spiritual place they had ever been on earth.
You know, when people lose everything, they get to the top with, money. They go to India to find spirituality. It's amazing. You see poverty, but you see the kids' eyes all sparkled and stuff.
Right.
I had a culture shock there when I went, being an Indian.
Explain
The poverty, the people sleeping on the streets, the massive amounts of people, pungent in every way. It was, it's 1/3 the size of the U.S., 3 times the population. And they're all congregated in Mumbai and New Delhi and the bigger cities. But when you go to rural areas, where I'm from, close to Nepal, you don't see that many people there. But
Let me ask you a question. You guys go places. You came here. Do you ever get what I'm going to refer to as the jungle fever stares? Jungle Fever was a movie that had to do with black men liking white women, and that the sisters, the black women, would really frown upon that. So you guys, sort of go around town. Do you get any of that now, or just you don't see?
My closest friend is a black guy. We call each other the Mississippi Masala team.
But I'm talking about you and Jay, because Jay is Jay got a lot of soul. He played with the D.C. Bears football team, which validates his brotherhood, but he doesn't look like a black guy.
Have you heard him sing?
I don't know if I want
The guy
to.
is multi-talented.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? Well, we put him on the spot. You say something like that on the Rock Newman Show, and we just go there. What's your favorite tune, Jay?
I don't really have a favorite tune or genre. I studied opera.
What about
sang radio commercials back in the day?
You know,
when I was in law school. No.
Temptations, My Girl. Is that something?
Oh yeah, all that stuff.
You want to hit that? You want to hit one of those?
Well, why don't we schedule that for a future show when you have the appropriate accompaniment here in the house? But no. In answer to your question, I've never noticed anything, and we go to National Harbor, and I never noticed anybody looking at me. And when I was, they looked at me more when I was a member of the D.C. Bears. What's that guy doing here? But when I would go out and kick a field goal, then they'd know.
Right. Look, a little bit of further history and Jay Speaker's claim to fame. Back in the early 70s, there was a flourishing semi-pro football league here. And one of the teams in the league was named the D.C. Bears. And Jay went to college and was a kicker. And he came in and started playing with the Bears, played for the Bears for several years, developed some great friendships, and has some humorous stories. But if I'm not mistaken, you were certainly the only white guy on the team. Were you the only white guy in the league?
There was one other white guy on our team, a guy named Scott Spaulding, who was an offensive tackle, and I knew him better from the back than from the front, because when I come out from a field goal attempt, he would be there in front of me blocking, and so I recognize him better from his rear number than from his face mask. But it was a league that there were some teams that were mostly black, and there were actually other teams that were mostly white. And there's my teammate right there. Well, we played on the team, but at different times.
Number 54, you're talking about, Robert Glenn Harris.
I see Glenn Harris walking in there. He's in the house. And Glenn retired from the Bears. I don't know if that's the right word, the year before I came on board, but often saw Glenn and Petey Green and all the other luminaries from the D.C. scene would come to our games. Petey would often catch my field goals and extra points before the game and throw them back, and we got to know each other that way. And
one of the great D.C. characters of all time.
And a great guy and a hilarious guy.
Yeah, I guess there may be competition for the amount of people having attended a D.C. resident's funeral. Petey Green, there was no competition at one point. Chuck Brown recently passed a year or so ago, and he had maybe as many people as Petey did. Jay, please tell me, we're talking 40 years ago now. That was early 70s. We're talking 40 years ago. You, as a white guy playing on an all-black team and primarily a black league, was that's certainly something that was unique. What do you see between 40 years ago, race relations in this area versus now?
Well, I first want to tie in with your previous guest and point out that we proudly played on Banneker Field.
Yes, you did.
Which was at Georgia and Euclid, right across the street from Howard University, where you went to school.
Yes.
And I understand I go by there every once in a while, and I don't think the field is there anymore. I think it's a baseball field now. But there is a pool.
Yeah.
And it's a whole recreation center named after Benjamin Banneker.
Yes.
But it's an interesting thing. We used to, our practices were at Kelly Miller Junior High School, which was more famous for being junior high school, which was more famous for being the place where Elgin Baylor went to junior high school.
Correct.
And I fondly remember driving up in my Chevy Vega and going to 49th and Brooks. Is it southeast or northeast?
That's northeast.
Northeast.
Yes.
Parking my car and getting out of my car and going to practice and being one of the guys and just practicing and being a great team. And I understand that, unfortunately, that's not a safe place for even an African American to go now. Apparently it's become a little more dangerous, and I understand that it's not quite as safe over by Banneker Field as it used to be. And
I think we've come a long way.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, now you were asking what people say when they see us together.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a good friend of mine. He's my attorney.
Sure.
I don't think people say anything.
And
you know what is she doing with him?
And that's
well, they do say that.
And you know what? That could be defined as progress.
Yeah.
The fact that no one is really saying anything.
No one's saying anything. You know, going back to the football days, I think that things have improved, but geographically, places where we used to practice maybe aren't as safe as they were back in the day, because I know there's a lot of problems in the District of Columbia with the drug trade and all that sort of thing. But I don't look at that as meaning that race relations are worse. I think that they're a lot better. And I was the token Jew on the
with the brothers
on the D.C. Bears, and I still have friends to this day that I talk to. In fact, I want to mention one, Theophis Brooks, who is one of our who Glenn knows very well, was one of our cornerbacks, who was a very, very hard hitter, great player, but he's probably more well known for having worked for D.C. Parks and Recreation and being a gang mediator and helping to try to stop some of the gang wars. And The one sad thing I'll tell you, and I know Glenn shares my thought about this, is that it's so sad that here we are now in our 60s, and so many of the guys we played with are deceased.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's something that's
Just
very,
hold
very
your eye.
sad. And
You're in your 60s?
I told her I was 39.
I know. So you've been lying to her all these years.
That's the end of that.
Yeah. Patty, if you're talking to the youth, I know you do media training and the rest.
Yes.
But if you're talking to the youth today,
Yeah.
why should they be hopeful?
America is the best country in the world. You can have a dream and pursue it and make it. I couldn't speak English at the age of 12, but I made a living speaking English.
Yeah.
So there's so many opportunities. I just see laziness and people not value education, and that's preventing them. But you can be whatever you want to be. You live in the best country in the world.
This is the Rock Newman Show. Coming up next, the legend, Robert Glenn Harris, when we return.
My baby drives a handcuff.
The weekend is here, and no matter what the weather's like outside, you'll find the deals inside here in the beautiful showroom of the all-new Pohanka Hyundai in Capitol Heights during their giant Markdown Madness sale.
Smart shoppers know that every new Hyundai in Pohanka comes with Hyundai Assurance and America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty. But why don't you tell them about the markdown sale, Joe?
I'll be happy to, Kim. Folks, shop around on the web, and you'll see lease payments on a new 2013 Elantra GLS at $179 a month. Today at Pohanka Hyundai, $99 a month. That's right, a $99 payment on a brand new Elantra.
And $89 a month on a new 2013 Accent GLS Automatic. How do they do it, Joe?
It must be the volume, Kim. A brand new building, hundreds of new Hyundais, and Pohanka's low payment and easy credit programs are designed to get everybody driving. But you have to get here today. Rush to the giant Markdown Madness sale at exit 13 off the Capitol Beltway.
Pohanka Hyundai, king of the Beltway. All financing for a limited term on approved HMF credit.
My baby drives a handcuff.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rock Newman from the Rock Newman Show. And I am absolutely flattered to have as one of my fine advertisers the DMV's greatest corporate citizen. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about the Pohanka Automotive Group. If you have any automotive needs whatsoever, if you want to sell your car, buy a car, trade in your car, have your car serviced, whatever you need, see my good friends at the Pohanka Automotive Group. You will be well taken care of, I promise. I'm Rock Newman. I might be there. Come on down and see our good friends at Pohanka Automotive Group.
Come on, Rock. Welcome back to the Rock Newman Show. Today, Saturday, July the 27th, we are broadcasting from the stage of the Langston Hughes Room at Busboys and Poets, 14th and V Street, Northwest Washington, D.C. Come on down and have some of the absolutely the best food in the city and also some great conversation. Let me say something to any of you out there who have children, who might be a mama or a daddy, an aunt or an uncle, grandpa, grandma. Tell your kids to come and check us out. If you're watching us on the television, if you got us on the computer and you have any kids nearby, I would say that this would be an hour that you might want to tell them to put down whatever they're doing and listen up. Because my next guest, beyond being my very, 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 very dear friend of many, many, many years, Robert Glenn Harris, in addition to being a radio talk show host, in addition to being an announcer, in addition to being on News Channel 8 now for many, many years, in addition to being a roving leader in the District of Columbia Parks and Recreation Division, in addition to being someone that on multiple times during the week goes out and gives his heart and soul to the community, gives his heart and soul and gives his wisdom to the community and to boys and girls all around this city, the Washington D.C. area, not just Washington D.C., but the surrounding area. He is called on by organizations throughout the metropolitan D.C. area to come and talk. He has been given award after award after award in terms of for his humanitarian work, for his work with children, for his demonstrating his full, firm commitment to this area and to the youth of this area. So in addition to all of those things as I described Robert Glenn Harris, we now can describe him as author because he has a new book that's out. And this new book is much like the man himself. It is very direct. It is called Grit Tough Playbook. Hardcore wisdom for young people. When Glenn Harris was my teammate and treasured roommate and mentors, couple of years older, looks several years younger, but a couple of years older, we'd walk across campus. And his nickname got established very quickly. His nickname was Walkie Talkie. And the reason why his name became Walkie Talkie is because we'd walk across campus and Glenn would be talking to people along the way. And he'd always have to run up. It'd be 4 or 5 of us. And he'd always have to run and catch up with us because he was always talking to somebody. He is a personality that is a magnet for people. And I'm proud to call him my friend, and I'm extraordinarily happy to welcome him to my show. Glenn Harris, welcome to the Rock Newman Show.
Oh, man. The check is in the mail.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Glenn, you know what? I am so tempted to start with the book, but I don't think I would do you or the book justice if I did that. I think we got to start at the beginning, as I've done with some of the guests that have come on the Rock Newman Show, to give my listening audience a frame of reference of who you are and why your voice matters today. Glenn Harris was born and grew up where?
was born in New York City and grew up in Southeast Washington, D.C. And we used to go up to New York every year, me and my brother Ronnie. And by the way, I'm the last one to call him Ronnie because he's sophisticated now. His name is Ron.
Ron.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but we used to go up every year, and then we started playing Little League sports, and we never went back again. I think he's been up to New York in a professional way, as I have too, but not to go up and stay with anybody. Because our grandparents were old when we were young, so that was my mother's people.
And I want to walk you through and allow our listening audience to sort of really peer into your life, Glenn. So I'm going to kind of walk you through this way. I'm going to ask you, I know one of your favorite entertainers as a child.
Oh, yeah.
Was Elvis Presley.
No question.
I do remember that. What I'd like to ask you is if you could kind of go back, what's your first memory as a child?
First memory? Good gracious. My dog in New York bite me in the face. A dog named Boy. Remember that, Ron? We had a dog named Boy. And dogs don't like you to touch them on the top of the head. I found out that.
Neither do black men.
Right, that's true. Right. When I did that, he bit me on my lip. It wasn't really that bad. I thought it was, though, because I was young. And I cried, man, for about 8 hours. So, but actually, that was one of my first real big memories of being a kid.
And what do you think? You were 4 years old, 5 years old?
Probably, probably about 3 or 4, something like that.
And so now let's come to Washington D.C. That's kind of your first memory there in New York. You grew up in Southeast Washington D.C.
Right.
Tell us about growing up in Southeast Washington.
700 block of Howard Road Southeast and Nichols Avenue.
That's as southeast as you can get.
That's the real
that's
southeast.
Southeast.
Yeah. But my mother would never allow us to say southeast. That's flat out. But we were from the hood, but we wasn't in it. I'm telling you, in our head. So we Nichols Avenue, of course, now is Martin Luther King.
Right.
But that was called Nichols Avenue then. And we lived in a very luxurious one-bedroom apartment. And when we moved out of there, we moved to the luxurious two-bedroom apartment. So we made it okay. I always thought that my mother, we've talked about it more, like my mother was Caucasian and my father was a black man.
Yes.
And they got married in 1946. I don't know how Dad escaped the rope, but, he did. But see, Good Hope Road and all of that area down there was all white people. And we used to walk down there all the time, and Pop, we'd go to movies if we could, because we didn't go to the Anacostia Theater until 1959.
Meaning you couldn't go
there, couldn't go to the
reason being?
Well, because it was
for white people only.
Yeah, it wasn't.
In 1959,
it wasn't segregated. We could go to the Anacostia pool once a week.
Right.
And then the rest of it was like, you couldn't do it. So
the thought was,
I used to always wonder why Pop was walking like this sometime, because I noticed it, because Ma would take me and Ronnie to the movie at the Anacostia Theater, because my mother loved movies and books and reading and all that stuff. So we used to go to the movies, but Dad couldn't go to the movies. So we had to come down here to U Street to go to the movies. So the Lincoln Theater and a couple other movies down this way we could go to when we were kids. We'd go with them to have dinner down here, so we could learn how to put our hand in the lap and the napkin. Mom was about all that, so it didn't make the food taste any better, but she liked that kind of stuff. So we did that, but then we went to the movies with our peers on Saturday. So that was it. So we go movies twice. So that's why I knew all these movies and stuff. When you first met me, you say, how you know all that mess, man?
Yeah, that's right.
You didn't get nothing about none of that stuff. I introduced you to John Denver and all that.
That's
you
right.
were like,
that blew us to cult.
Yeah, right. And you were saying, man, those songs are saying something, because I like rock and roll. I liked R&B. And Mom was kind of diverse, so she liked Tchaikovsky, Rachmaninoff, Beethoven, Bach, all that kind of stuff. My little sister, she's sitting over there, too. She's going like, yeah, you're right. That's
Stevie Wonder said that. Beethoven, Bach, you raise you and you praise you or whatever. Right. Now, you said your mother would never allow you to say Southeast.
Oh, no.
Let's talk about that for a moment. And before you do, I want to say that 30-some years ago, I was doing radio. And as a grown man, I was using an incorrect word. Through the whole broadcast, I just got locked into using that word.
That's you, country.
That's right. It was country boy. And I was saying conversate. I said, we were talking about something, and man, we were sitting there, and we were conversating, and oh yes, we were conversating, and I was enjoying, conversating,
right.
And we were having that conversation, and I just really appreciated being able to conversate in that manner.
Dead wrong.
And the phone line just lit up, the private line, which she knew. So we went to break, and she said, baby, the word is converse. That's your mama.
Right. Well, I got a book in the house, and one of my 3,400 books in my library says, conversate is not a word.
Yeah, right.
Now, you can have conversate in the neighborhood when we're talking among our group and all of that. Right. And that's any group, not just our group. You can say conversate. They use it in songs and everything. Yeah. But conversate ain't no word. I can tell you that right now. Converse.
You know what? I did not have the intestinal fortitude to correct somebody this week. It was a very dressed up, buttoned down gentleman with degrees on top of degrees.
Oh, yeah.
And on 3 different occasions, he said, irregardless.
Yeah. I know you probably dove off the stage.
Irregardless of that.
Yeah, right.
We're going to come back in a few moments on the Rock Newman Show and continue with the legend, Glenn Harris.
This is Leprechaun Tim Pohanka from Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai. It's hard to be down on your luck when you're Virginia's first choice for new Nissan and Hyundais, but I need to sell 60 cars this week. Right now, I'll pay you big bucks for your good luck. Bring down any good luck charm you've got, and based on the sale price of the car you choose, I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car this week. Today, your lucky penny is worth plenty, up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car you want. Stop moping and hoping you'll get approved. With my For the People credit approval process, the banks are looking to get lucky and lend to you, even if you've been turned down before. Bring me any good luck charm and I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car today. Hurry, once I get rid of 60 cars, the luck runs out. All offers require bank approval, so call us at 1-800-POHANKA, visit Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai on Route 1 in Fredericksburg, or better yet, log on to timpohankaforthepeople.com. And when we make a deal, I promise it'll be your lucky day. I'm Tim Pohanka, and I'm a leprechaun for the people.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rock Newman from The Rock Newman Show. And I am absolutely flattered to have as one of my fine advertisers the DMV's greatest corporate citizen. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about the Pohanka Automotive Group. If you have any automotive needs whatsoever, if you want to sell your car, buy a car, trade in your car, have your car serviced, whatever you need, see my good friends at the Pohanka Automotive Group. You will be well taken care of, I promise. I'm Rock Newman. I might be there. Come on down and see our good friends at Pohanka Automotive Group.
This is Rock Newman, and I would like to let you know that we are talking in this hour with the legend Robert Glenn Harris. Today is July the 27th, 2013, and we are broadcasting live from the stage of the Langston Hughes Room at Busboys and Poets. Guest Robert Glenn Harris. We were talking about Glenn growing up, his escapades in Southeast Washington, D.C. So, Glenn, we got up to a point where I think, you were becoming a teenager. Walk us through those teenage years in Southeast Washington, D.C.
Yeah, teenager, dumb like everybody else. I think my brother was my calming, my real calming, because he never talked much. Ronnie, great athlete. Both of us were pretty good athletes. We taught ourselves pretty much. We had a guy in the neighborhood named Robert Spriggs, who he's no longer with us, but he was a great athlete at Phelps High School. And he got us up to, he was a year older than me. So he took us up to the recreation center, which was big time in those days. And we played Little League Baseball.
Yeah.
And we were ahead of our time, man. Ronnie was good. I was good. We had a great Little League team, won the city championship. And we started playing ball, and we played everything.
You said Ronnie didn't talk much.
No.
Is there any truth to the rumor that he didn't talk much because he was with you all the time and couldn't get a word in edgewise?
Yeah, probably so. So when he didn't say anything,
Chief Folded Arms was the nickname.
They called Ronnie. They called my brother because Ronnie used to stand around all the time with his arms folded.
Yeah.
So one of the guys in the neighborhood said, "Well, what's up, Chief?" Chief, who is Chief? He said, called him Chief Folded Arms. Man, we fell out, but it was funny. Because some of the old veterans now that will see him that are, our age, hey, what's up, Chief?
Right. So, Glenn, your first response there was dumb.
Oh, yeah. All of us were dumb.
Yeah. And but
not really dumb.
As in doing knucklehead things.
Well, not even that, because we didn't want to, shame ourselves for our mom and pop. We weren't the kind of kids that got spankings and all that stuff. They had a certain look, bam, they look at you and you go like, okay, let's straighten up. And Ma was one of these scientific punishers.
Uh-huh.
You couldn't slam the door in our house because if you did, you had to walk out and shut it 25 or 30 times.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we spit, you know how kids like to spit?
Yeah.
We spit, and she would make you go out on the porch and spit till you couldn't spit anymore. Your mouth get dry. Come on, Mom, stop it, No, we're not having that and all that kind of stuff. So she was cool. She was very, very, very hip, if you will. Even though she was tough. Me and Ryan used to go to bed, and we was experiments, so when our sisters came along and Peter, we were different, because we used to go to bed like 6 o'clock in the evening.
Wow.
In the summertime, we would look at each other like this. Now, come on now. Mom, this is too tight, But she was born in the 20s, and, you raised your kids a certain way, and we went to bed at a certain time and all that stuff. And when we got letters from our teachers or whatever, we brought it straight home to Mom. A lot of kids today might even throw the letter in the trash can.
Right.
That wasn't the case. She would kind of sort of feel us out. So we had to do our housework and all of that kind of stuff. And Mom would call home and say, "Have you finished doing your room yet?" And we go like, "Mom, you'll get it done. Get it done now, or I'll be home." She didn't have no car or nothing, but we believed that she could get there.
Right.
So, because Pop used to take her to work. This was in the 50s, man. So she would always say, "Do your work, get your work done." And we'd say, "Well, we're going to get it done because she's not even here." But when she said, "I'm coming home," we were like, "Oh, man," we start making up the bed and doing all this kind of stuff, because we were trained. We didn't have sense enough to know that she didn't come home. She ain't coming home and get on the bus and come over here and come. No. So,
but there was a very clear line of authority.
No question. Now, I was a talkback guy.
Right.
I ran my mouth, and I would talk back. And in those days, they called it talk back.
Uh-huh.
Here's one example very quickly. when my babysitter, or our nana, whatever she was in those days, Mrs. Sarah Fox, a beautiful woman, but she hit me in the face. Now, she was born in the 1800s.
Yeah.
So she hit me in the face with a belt. And I guess I was talking back. And I pushed her or something. And my mother came home, and I'm standing behind her going, yeah, Ma, take care of this. Ma said, Miss Sarah, we call her Miss Sarah, don't ever hit any of my kids in the face with a belt ever again.
Right.
So we said, okay. So we got home. I was doing whatever the dance was. I was all like this,
Mashed
yeah.
potatoes.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
man. No, mashed potatoes wasn't even out yet.
Oh, okay.
So
okay.
I said, wait a minute. We got home, and my mom said, as for you, first of all, you never hit an adult ever in life. You got 1 month in your bedroom. A month. You come home from school, do what you have to do, go in the bedroom. My father used to throw comic books. In those days, we call them funny books.
Yeah, sure.
My father used to take these Rex Allen comic books. Now, you old veterans out there, you remember Rex Allen. He was a cowboy like Gene Autry and all those people. So he would throw the books in the room at me, saying, and the thing about it, that he never went against what Mom said. If Mom said something or if Dad said something,
Right.
they would never go against each other. So I'm sitting in the room in prison.
Yes.
Like this, in that room back in the day, man, was terrible. So we sitting there like this. Ron, he just walking around, it's quiet. You know what I mean? He come in, go to bed. I go to bed too, wake up. See, my mother was a voracious reader. My mother used to read books, 3 books a month.
Yeah.
Or she would read 3 at a time.
Right.
Sometimes she wouldn't even go to sleep.
Right.
And she would, do that, get us breakfast, whatever was eaten in those days, and we, boom, get off to school. But I'd have to come back. And the 29th day of the month, she let me out. She came out, and she said, look.
Got out for good behavior.
Right, you can't, well, where was I going to go? She said, heck, those little windows was to the ground, so I was, I was on the first floor, so I couldn't go any lower than that. I couldn't jump out. I couldn't even get hurt if I jumped out. So so she would always say, look, she said, look, this is something you don't do. You don't hit adults. You do so-and-so. You're too young. Just let me out. Man, I ran around the whole block, man. I'm running, man. I'm so happy to be out of the penitentiary, man. So I saw no joy in going to jail as I grew up. I had no joy in going anywhere. We're going, what kind of red flag is that?
Right.
Going to jail, So those things helped me. I always try to learn something from every situation in my life.
You were in jail at home. Later,
became a correctional officer in prison.
You worked at the penitentiary.
Right, I did.
And I remember hearing you say, even you did that prior to the time that you came to Howard University. You came to Howard University as a 23-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah, and you definitely were, a leader of a group of young guys. But I used to hear you talk to really some of the guys on campus and then some of the block boys in the community who thought they were tough.
Right.
And you had been down at Lawton around some really tough dudes.
Yeah. And some of the guys I was talking to, they had been to Lawton also. What I'm saying? But I always had a way of I never met a stranger.
Yeah.
I'm always talking to somebody about something, And I don't think me and my brother Ronnie ever got in any fights in the neighborhood. If we did, it was nothing, you know what I mean? And probably I got my butt whipped because I didn't like to fight. But I could, and I was always strong and big for our ages. We came along, you know what I mean? So, but I didn't like all that stuff, man. I didn't like all that fighting and stuff. So, but all the guys knew us. They always respected us. We didn't drink, we didn't smoke, we didn't drug, we didn't do any of that. We had a chance to do it. I got recruited.
Right.
The guys say, "Hey, man, I can make a lot of money with you, man."
There's a story. There's a story here in your book that I think is a very illuminating story. It is a time when you were propositioned, where a guy said, "Hey, you have a car. You're young,
right?
And you've got 4 wheels and some transportation.
And that's about all it was.
Yeah.
4 wheels.
And every now and then had enough to put a little bit of gas in it." And so the guy saw that and said, "Hey, man, you can make some money. I want you to take these packages somewhere."
Right.
Tell us about that.
He's dead now. I won't mention his name, but I don't know if anybody knows him or not. But anyway, he came up to me and said, "Glenn, look, man, you clean, man. You play balls, high school star, all that stuff.
Sure.
You can make a lot of money with us. All you have to do is I had a 54 Chevy with no reverse. All you had to do was, I couldn't even back out to go nowhere. I had to, they had to push me in the parking lot. So I said, yeah, look, I'm not doing it.
Right.
Right. Man, come on, man, you can do this, man. Nobody would suspect you of anything. I said, yeah, but who would turn me in? You.
Right.
You be the first one snitching, the first one saying something because you'll be using product. Nah, man. I said, let me tell you something. If I came into this game hardcore, y'all wouldn't even see me.
Right.
Because I'd like to say I'm pretty smart, and but I don't want to sell drugs. I don't want to do any of that stuff. I'll be broke and just go on with my life. And all those guys, some of them, not all of them, a lot of them went to jail.
Yeah. Okay, so here I want to pinpoint that because this is not a time. This is long before Glenn Harris is Glenn Harris on TV. Yeah. This is Glenn Harris who sometime might not be able to afford a real big meal.
Yeah, right.
And so what was it that had been put into you from those authority figures, from your parents, coaches, or whatever, that made you have, I'm going to say, the discipline and good sense to turn down what would have been very tempting to many? And this is a message for children that might be listening to this show today.
Well, I think it was the foundation that we had, my father wasn't a very educated man. He finished the 3rd or 4th grade. My mother got him to finish the 6th grade.
Yeah.
And, it was a very chauvinistic period in our life where men always had the...
Water paint.
Yeah, they was always, running the show. And my mom was always about progressing. She got... Matter of fact, as we got older, she got better, and she always listened and thought about things, So these are things that we kind of learned. Not that she was sitting there saying all this all the time, pointing it to us. Not really.
Right.
We just kind of learned, just like, hey, man, I didn't want to drink, man. My uncles drank. Pop drank a little bit. But I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to. It didn't even taste good, I don't think. I don't think I had a cup of coffee, man, until I was almost 60 years old.
Right.
So those things we held strong to, man, didn't want to do it, just didn't do it. So, and plus we validated ourselves, man, very early. With Mom being Caucasian and Pop being black, man, you in the hood, you better validate yourself.
Now, what do you mean by that? We validated ourselves.
Well, they call me white boy all the time. Well, what's up, white boy? What's up, Reds? What's up, Dirty Reds? What's up, Red Mike? I don't know where Mike got into it at, but anyway, I was Red Mike too. So that's all good because I know in the hood, quote unquote, the hood, if they call you a nickname or something, that's because they like you.
Right.
Nobody mad or nothing like that. You knew when people were mad. So it never worried me. So I used to always ask them all the time in a very cool way because in the hood in D.C., if you could Joan, you was pretty good. I could Joan all the time. Always good Jonah. And I used to always say to the guys, y'all calling me all these names, but can y'all read?
Right.
They would go like, oh, man, there you go, hit below the belt. I say, yeah, okay. But, if you can't read, because we could read. We could read, write a sentence, and all that kind of stuff, But we came along in an era where we helped each other in the classroom. Now, my brother Ron and Pete, and I think my sisters were pretty good students in high school, I didn't realize how good of a student I was until I actually got out of college. I just knew how to put stuff together. I could read. I could do all of that. And my math skills were terrible. And you know that because you always make fun of me. But I always had alligator skin. Nothing ever bothered me. I never worried about how I looked, how tall I was, how short, whatever, because none of us can help how we look.
Yeah.
So I tell young people all the time, stop fighting over stupid stuff. He talked about my mother. I said, first of all, the word is mother. It's not mother. And anyway, has anybody ever seen your mother? No. What the heck are you fighting about? They used to fight. My mother was a little short lady, white lady in the hood, who had so much respect by everybody.
Right.
They either call her Miss June or Miss Harris. So she was cool. From Manhattan, New York, she had a lot of heart. She didn't care. She stepped up, you know what I mean? There's two things you couldn't talk about. You couldn't talk about my father, and you couldn't talk about her kids.
Right.
She would rumble, man. You know what I mean? And that's the way she was. And I ain't talking about fighting and all that, because you don't have to be a man or a woman because you can fight. But if you got a principle, if you stand up for something, you say, man, I'm not standing for that. I'm going to whip your butt. Well, they ain't going to get it done, and you can whip me, but it ain't going to mean nothing.
Right.
What is it going to mean if you whip me and beat me up?
Right.
So what?
Right.
So I tell people, look in the mirror and make yourself validate. Validate yourself, because it ain't nothing you can do about how you look and all that stuff.
Right.
So what people are saying about you doesn't mean anything.
Right.
But when you make it mean something, that's when you're always having a troubled life. You know what I mean? Because you ain't happy.
And man, you say that in your speeches around this metropolitan area. Unfortunately, you are talking often to kids who don't have a sense of identity and the self-esteem that you had.
Well, you know, I've been with a lot of groups, man. I don't think I've ever had a group that didn't pay attention because of the strength of my voice and what I was talking about. See, you got to take a kid and turn them inside out and make them look at themselves like a mirror.
Right.
You know, because you can go through all of this. And man, I tell you what, I was at a super leaders group one day and I asked a kid. Kid had his pants so low, man, I don't know how he could walk. His pants were almost down to his kneecaps.
Yeah.
And you could see all his drawers and everything. I said, son, why don't you just put on some bikini drawers?
Right.
Wear those.
Right.
See how proud you'll be of that.
Right.
You know. And then I asked him, why are your pants that low?
Right.
He said, Mr. Harris, I don't even know. and when he said that, I said, at least he told the truth.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because he really didn't want it. I said, you're doing this because somebody else is doing it.
Right.
I don't think me and my brother Ronnie, because we're only like 14 months apart, 13 months, I don't think we ever did anything because somebody else did it. I don't think so. And you know how weird I was. I was wearing ponchos and all that stuff on campus. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when I first saw this guy on Howard University's campus, I was like, oh, my God, Clint Eastwood just came up here.
Right.
Right. This is the Rock Newman Show. We'll be back in just a moment.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rock Newman from the Rock Newman Show. And I am absolutely flattered to have as one of my fine advertisers the DMV's greatest corporate citizen. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about the Pohanka Automotive Group. If you have any automotive needs whatsoever, if you want to sell your car, buy a car, trade in your car, have your car serviced, whatever you need, see my good friends at the Pohanka Automotive Group. You will be well taken care of, I promise. I'm Rock Newman. I might be there. Come on down and see our good friends at Pohanka Automotive Group.
This is Leprechaun Tim Pohanka from Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai. It's hard to be down on your luck when you're Virginia's first choice for new Nissan and Hyundais, but I need to sell 60 cars this week. Right now, I'll pay you big bucks for your good luck. Bring down any good luck charm you've got, and based on the sale price of the car you choose, I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car this week. Today, your lucky penny is worth plenty, up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car you want. Stop moping and hoping you'll get approved. With my For the People credit approval process, the banks are looking to get lucky and lend to you, even if you've been turned down before. Bring me any good luck charm and I'll give you up to $4,777 off any nicer, newer car today. Hurry, once I get rid of 60 cars, the luck runs out. All offers require bank approval, so call us at 1-800-POHANKA, visit Pohanka Nissan and Pohanka Hyundai on Route 1 in Fredericksburg, or better yet, log on to TimPohankaForThePeople.com. And when we make a deal, I promise it'll be your lucky day. I'm Tim Pohanka, and I'm a leprechaun for the people.
Welcome back, folks. This is our last segment of today's Rock Newman Show, broadcasting live from Busboys and Poets at 14th and V Street, Northwest Washington, D.C. My guest in this hour is Glenn Harris, the legendary Glenn Harris, anchor of News Channel 8 Sports Talk, it is called. Glenn is having a book signing reception tomorrow. It is going to be Sunday, the 28th of July, from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. It is going to be at 5521 Colorado Avenue Northwest. That's 5521 Colorado Avenue Northwest, Suite C4. You can also go to blackmanofhappiness.com. That is a company that Glenn is involved with his brother Peter. And I encourage you, if you have an opportunity, to come out to 5521 Colorado Avenue Northwest, Suite C4. And you can RSVP at the following number. I'm going to give it out a couple of times, 202-450-4246. Or you can reserve, you can RSVP at blackmanofhappiness.com. And when you go there, you will see this book. This is a hand-sized book here. You can really kind of get it in your back pocket. You can slide it down in a purse. It is something that is chocked full of wisdom to help you rear your children in these tough times. And Glenn, without any advance notice or preparation, I'm going to just kind of go and open up a page. And the page I just opened up says, think. Talk to me about that.
Well, you know, I always tell my people that I talk to, and even when I go off the air, Terry Cornwell is here. He's my producer on the show. And I always tell young people, don't forget to listen if I have the time. Don't forget to listen. Don't forget to think. Don't forget to be patient. And please, whatever you do, pay attention. Not only kids, grown folks. Yeah. You know, this is a tough world we're getting through or trying to get through. But if you do those 4 principles, if you're listening and thinking while you're listening and hearing, you know, and also be patient. You 17 trying to be 25. I don't care if you're broke or rich. Yeah. You can't be 25 when you're 17. Yeah. You know, and be patient. Right. And pay attention. Make sure you always listen. Me and you were on with Lee Steinberg the other day. That's the listeners, man. When you were talking, he was looking dead in your face. Right. You know, Lee Steinberg, one of the biggest agents of all time in sports. But when people were talking to him, he was looking them right in the face.
The agent who the movie Show Me the Money
was based on him. It was based on him.
Right.
Yeah. Right. But you got to listen, man. If you're not interested, just get on out the room. Yeah. You know, because if you're trying to learn something, you got to listen. And listening, and those 4 principles: listening, be patient, thinking. It can save your life one day.
Right. Mm-hmm. Loyalty. Just flip up to another page. Loyalty.
Yeah. What's the number on that?
No, I'm just saying.
I can't remember.
No, it's okay.
Well, you know, loyalty is like being my brother. I don't have to. Loyalty is me and you. Yeah. Sometimes you disappear, and somebody will say, "Well, where you seen Rock Newman?" I said, "No, but he'll call. Yeah. He'll call me, and I don't care where it's from." Yeah. My brother Ronnie has always been there for me. My sisters never ever let me down. And Ron is a family guy. He don't care about a whole lot of stuff, but as a family, he's on it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And that's the kind of, you got Mark Lassiter here, who's on your staff. Sure. We went to college together. I haven't seen Mark probably all together 30 years, man, but we still friends, man. Sure. To me, friendship is everything. When I leave my show, I say, go in friendship. Terry writes it in the script, go in friendship. Right. I've been saying it since I've been on radio, man, because it's no matter what we say or how we say it, we leave in friendship. That means it isn't personal, but we still have a friendship to deal with, you know what I mean? And my brother Peter talks about the black man of happiness. What is a happy black man? Well, it could be a happy white man. But in our case, it's a happy black man because let's be happy. You're only sad or happy for one or two reasons. It depends on the situation you're in. So what are you going to do? You know, if I don't have any money and sometime I'm like broke, I go into my little bucket and go, so I'm going to the movies.
Right.
You know, if you're not happy, it's because it's on you. You got people riding around in wheelchairs. You know, they're living in deep poverty. You've been overseas. You've been to Africa. You've been to these places and seen the poverty. You know what I mean? We were poor, but not that poor.
Right.
So it's all relative, man. So we got to make ourselves happy no matter what it is. And when we start understanding what the concept of being happy is, not having a whole lot of money, not having a big, huge car, all that's good, would like to have it. But if you don't have it, what are you going to do?
Glenn, you've given great testament to and testimony to the role that your parents played in your life and giving you a foundation and giving you, really helping you to become a person of substance. Who outside of your mom and dad had the most influence on building the monument that is Glenn Harris?
I think my high school coach, Dave Brown, was one. And when I spoke at his funeral, I was like, whoa, I wonder if he really knew me. I think he did. But, you know, he was just a teacher and I was a student.
Yeah.
But some of the things he gave us in his hardcore wisdom was pretty good. You know, he always
somebody that never raised his voice.
Oh, never raised his voice. He would say, son, don't forget to use your head for more than a hat rack. You know, we go like, okay, Dave, you're cutting deep there.
Right.
So I was on his list of first-name guys. He never called any athlete by their first name. It was always Harris. It was always, he coached Elgin Baylor, so it was, hey, Baylor, you know, whatever. But when you got into his wheelhouse, it was Glenn. Reggie Rucker was my best friend in high school. Reggie. Quentin Robinson was one of the greatest football players I ever played with in high school. He's gone now. Quentin, we was like, oh, my God. So guys used to always tell me, man, go in and talk to your daddy, man. I was like, you know, because I went to practice every day. Like my brother Ronnie, he was a three-sport star at Ballou High School, big-time athlete. But he went to practice every day, went to school every day, was never, ever out of school, had perfect attendance all the way from junior high all the way through high school. You know, so you got to work, man. You know, I don't like work all that much, but you got to work. I talk to youngins all the time. What are you doing? I'm chilling. What do you mean you chilling at 35? You know, when you get 65 or 66 like I am now, you ain't going to get no money. I mean, that's how you say it. It's not, well, son, you know, you have to do this. You got to go to college, you know. I don't want to hear all that. Man, get you a job. Get a shovel. Get something. You know, me and you, look at the job we walked off of. We worked at Metro, all that stuff.
Yes, we did.
But you just...
Digging the hole. We were down in the hole.
Yes, sir. We was in underpinning, what they call underpinning, when you hold up the buildings. We had tennis shoes on. We didn't know anything.
That's right.
But the thing about it is that we were working. And we were doing something, trying to get a check. You know, these youngins, and I'm not saying these youngins today because all youngins have their times where they're up and down, but it's a different group now. They're computer literate and can't read. So something is wrong here. You know, when you can flip on, you can do all of that, but you can't read. You don't understand a sentence. So that's when I get a little frustrated with youngsters. Come on, man, think about what you're doing. You know, you know, education's not going to grab you around the throat and choke you.
And I think what you are pointing to there as you talk about youngsters and, you know, some of the things that ail our community and other communities, there is a very, very big word, and it starts with a P, and that's parenting.
There you go.
And that there is oftentimes, when we talk about the maladies of our youth, part of the problem is a lack of parenting.
Yeah, that's true. Well, see, we had to answer to Mom. We did. Pop was pretty good. You know, but he was working. You know, just like your dad was working. You know what I mean? Well, he was working, and he was cool. And I think Ma taught him a lot about some things, you know what I mean? She used to write poetry and put crossword puzzles, and we used to do these big puzzles, man, like big as this table. And we put one puzzle in every day, and then put another one in. Before you knew it, the puzzle was made, you know. But that's what my mother liked. So whether we liked it or not, it gave us a little bit of versatility where we could say, okay, I don't like poems, but I know what it is.
Right.
You know, might not. I used to bring guys in the house and let them listen to Rachmaninoff's theme of Paganini. They were looking at me like I was a pure fool.
Right.
But that was beautiful music to me because my mother loved it. I still love it today. I love everything.
Right.
So nobody's going to ever pigeonhole me, or nobody's going to pigeonhole my family about what we like or we don't like.
Right.
We like what we like.
Right.
You know. So nobody could ever say, man, you like country music? I sure do. I
Uh-huh.
like some of it. I sure do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I like Jason Aldean.
Yeah.
I sure do, because he's talking about something.
Right.
You know, and most country music is talking about something anyway. You know what I mean?
Glenn, for a moment, let's talk about your broadcasting career. You have interviewed what is now probably, how many? Do you know how many shows you have? You've had maybe more than 1,000 shows.
Oh, please, 1,000. Let me tell you something. News Channel 8 was a local CNN.
Yeah.
The first 9 months at News Channel 8, I did over 3,000 broadcasts. That's a career for some people. 3,000 broadcasts. I was on the air 14 times a day.
Wow.
So I was a #1 anchor.
Right.
By the way, on a trivia note, I am the first African-American #1 anchor in prime time in this town.
Okay.
Now, everybody might say, oh, well, you know. No,
it doesn't matter what they say.
No, because they don't know the history. You know,
Right.
Donnie Simpson was there. Who other guys? Terry, we had a couple other guys there at Channel 7, but they were weekend guys.
Yeah.
But they weren't prime time.
Do you have one particular interview that stands out over all the rest?
Magic Johnson.
Tell me about that.
Matter of fact, I interviewed him at Howard.
Yeah.
In the hallway over in one of the buildings. And at that time, because don't know Magic that good now, but, I mean, he was a pretty good guy, man.
Yeah.
Talked about his parents and how he learned to play basketball and how much, you know, he's from Flint. I think he's from Flint, Michigan. I'm not sure. Flint, yeah, he's from Flint, Michigan. And, you know, they struggle along. His dad worked every day, blue-collar guy.
Right.
What a great player.
Yeah.
And at the time, a great guy. But I've never interviewed anybody that didn't say, hey, man, I appreciate you, man. You know, Charlie Casserly came on one day and said, man, you know what? This might be the best show I've ever been on because we're doing what we're doing now.
Right.
I never got into all that old cheerleading. Well, Twitter over here. You got the Twitter. Look here. Come in with your comments. I don't care about none of that ESPN stuff.
Right.
It's okay.
Right.
And I got friends over there. Stan Verrett went to Howard. You know, Michael Kim worked with me. You know what I mean? I worked with some great people. Frederica Whitfield, CNN. You know, they all worked with us. You know what I mean? And and I like that. Gus Johnson is one of my students.
I was about to say.
Right,
I was about to say. You say you work with a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, that is you being a little more modest than you perhaps need to be. You know, you also tutored and mentored a lot of people. And at your tribute nearly a year ago, Gus Johnson was one of the people that talked about how he would not be doing what he's doing now on the world stage had it not been for your tough tutelage.
Yes, I had some grit to him. So he was down in Waco, Texas. That's where Baylor is.
Right.
RG3 is down there. Of course, he was a youngster then.
Sure.
And he called me talking about coming back home because he was seeing rebel flags and all that. I said, well, I'll tell you what, you stay your ASS down there. And that's how you work in this business. See, Dewey Hughes taught me. Taught me how to be.
Dewey Hughes, one of the legendary pioneers in Washington, D.C. of radio and television.
Right. He taught me how to survive in this business. I don't even believe I've been at Channel 8 22 years. In this business, you don't last 22 years in one place.
Right.
I've been in this business 42 years, and I'm still here. So I'm like, but I think it's the way I vibe with people, man. Just like Lee Steinberg, me and you on TV the other night. I never see this guy. I've seen him, but I don't know him. I think you're just as strong as he is, you know what I mean? But I remember when we were sitting around on campus, you wasn't thinking about any of this mess. You was always a revolutionary. And I always admired your heart and your courage to say what you need to say. And remember when we were in that class and you were getting ready to flunk it and I wouldn't let you flunk it? And I forgot what the class was, but it was a media class. And you was like, man, I don't feel like going.
It was a 6 hour.
It was a 6 hour. You get a 6 hour F, you ain't graduating nowhere. You know, but Rock was getting ready to quit. I said, man, first of all, you're batting about 370. We can't have you quitting. You're on our team. So I worked with Rock until he got the concept of what the thing was. See, when it comes to numbers and figuring out stuff, he tells me. When it comes to this media stuff, I tell him.
Hey.
So, you know.
Now what I want you to tell me is, what impact do you want this book to have?
I want this impact.
As we wrap up today.
I want this book to be able to be in some classrooms so maybe some English teachers could get with some of these rappers and all these people who want to write and break stuff down and, you know, look at these words and pick out a word that's good for you. You can do it every day. Pick out a word that's good for you. Or show your kid who they may not understand the word right away because it's kind of deep. But you know what? Later on, they'll start putting it together. And my brother Peter is a genius, a genius. He's smart and sharp, and he's got a lot of vision, man. So he said, look, let's do a book with some words. And I say words are the windows of conversation. Without words, you got no conversation. You know, that's why guys look at girls and girls look at guys and say, he ain't saying nothing. I'm getting up out of here.
Let's wrap it up with this one I just flipped to, integrity.
Mm-hmm. Let me see it. I can't remember. I wrote 90 poems. Can't remember none of them. And bought the wrong glasses. Integrity. Be a person of your word. Say you'll do it. Do it as long as it's positive. No conscience. No integrity. Integrity demands that you develop as a human being. Integrity banishes the devil within you. Integrity's your foundation, your guardian, your mentor, your parent. Integrity's your grandma telling you the moral of the story. Integrity examines I can't see very well, y'all, so hang with your process. Sets the vigorous example. Finds utopia within decisions you make. Integrity embraces experience and education. Integrity's enemy is mediocrity. Integrity's hall of fame is a life lived with conscience. Integrity. No conscience, no integrity.
That's Robert Glenn Harris, the legend, the D.C. son of the soil. I'm Rock Newman. I'll see you next week, same time, same place.
My man.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, man.
All right.